if you have the ball in your control, so if Dragus throws Antonio the ball, Antonio's looking backwards, he catches the ball right on this white tile and turns, and he runs over me. What do you hear people scream? They don't give him time, right? The rule in basketball is this tile belongs to me as a defender because I got here first legally. Legally is 2 feet down, facing Antonio. After I get that, if Antonio's bigger than me, and he is, I can turn to protect myself. I do not have to allow Antonio to run over me to kill me. I don't have to get hurt. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to be tough. But I have to get here. If I don't get here, then the responsibility shifts to me. Okay? To me. Because I'm no longer, quote, legal. So just remember, every time we talk about the defender in this class, the only thing that you have to get in your head is, did they get to their spot on the floor legally, which means I was facing the person I was guarding, and I had 2 feet on the floor. Not a bouncer on the floor, not almost on the floor, facing whoever I'm guarding. If I got there in that position first, it's mine. It's mine. If Antonio has the ball. Time and distance are never a factor. Okay? Now the only other thing we can set up is Antonio's running down the floor and Antonio doesn't have the ball. So we go back to the same thing. This square still belongs to whichever one of us gets it first. But now because this player on offense doesn't have the ball, I have to give Antonio what is called time and distance to react to me. And the rule book says, depending on how fast he's running, up to 2 steps. So if he's 2 steps from me or less, and I step in here and he runs over me, now the foul's on me. Because he didn't have the ball. And the responsibility for the defender shifts. I have to allow this person to react to me on the floor. So if I just kind of step, Antonio's where this desk is, and I step in here, I didn't give him time and distance. If he's looking back and I step in here and he's within 2 good strides of me, I didn't give him time and distance. If he didn't have the ball, if he was about to catch the ball, if the ball was right on his fingertips, but he hadn't caught it, then the foul's on me because he doesn't have possession. If he's airborne, I gotta get to this block before he jumps. Because an airborne player has to be allowed to come down. So the difference between a foul involving a player with the ball and a foul on a player not having the ball is strictly on the defender and the term whether time and distance really is a factor. If the player on offense has the ball in their possession, time and distance are never, ever, there's not one scenario they have to, quote by the rule book, expect to be guarded. And there's nothing in the book that says they have to see me. They have to expect if they have the ball. So if I'm the offensive player and now the role is shifted, Antonio's on his square and I am looking back for the ball and I get right here and I turn and I run over him. If he was on that square legally, the difference between me not having it here and me having it here is simply whether I have the ball in my possession. So you have to know whether the offensive player has possession of the ball. If they're about to possess it, then the responsibility for time and distance is always a factor. If they've possessed it, they have to expect to be guarded, and it doesn't say anything in the rule book about me having seen him or him see me.
So possession will be having the ball with the 2 hands?
Possession.
That would be
You can rule possession with 1 hand. I mean, you can turn and dribble the ball.
Okay.
That's possession. I mean, nothing says 2 hands. But my point is, time and distance are not a factor if the defender's legal and the offensive player has the ball. Time and distance are always a factor if whether the defender's legal or not. They can't be legal if it's inside of 2 steps and the defender doesn't have time to see them. Or the offensive player, or the offensive player is airborne. Airborne players must always be allowed to come down. So no matter where Antonio is, he could be jumping from back there by that table in the back of the room. If he goes up and I move in here, if Antonio hits me, that's a block. And it could be, depending on the violence of the play, moving under, and somebody could get injured and somebody could get ejected. Because you can't do that, you can't move under. Okay, so just remember that, okay? Remember that as we talk about, because there's so many things in Rule 4 that in your head, the games are played with the offense and the defense. And if you just go back to remember, there are no what-ifs. If the offensive player has the ball in their position, they have to expect possession, they have to expect to be guarded. If they don't have the ball, they have to be allowed time and distance to react. Every square on the floor belongs to whoever gets there first. The difference between legal and illegal is only whether or not that offensive player has been given enough opportunity without the ball to stop without running over the defender. Does that make any sense, everybody? I'll just stop right there. Any questions? I try to break that down as simple as I could, and I can tell you, that's why, and for those people that weren't here last week, I'll say stoneism a lot. And that's all of a sudden I get out of the rule book and I start telling you what you're gonna look for on the floor. Because I need to teach you what you're gonna see. So as an official, what you must train yourself to do is referee the defender. Right? And the reason? Because the defender's gonna tell you whether it's a foul on the defense or offense. If the defender's legal, it can never be a foul on the defense. That make sense? I mean, just think about that. 2 feet down, facing my opponent, either time and distance to react, or whether time and distance doesn't even matter because my opponent's got the ball. If I'm legal, I can't have a foul called on me. If I'm illegal, then I got a separate responsibility. So I referee the defender because I immediately can know whether or not the foul's on the offense and defense, or whether I should just let it go because it's incidental. Oftentimes there can be contact, and it's not a foul. Contact is, a foul is defined by just contact. Fouls are defined by advantageous situations. One team gaining advantage over another by misusing the rule. But if I don't referee the defender, and I'm watching the ball, which again, last week we talked about, remember? Easiest thing in the world, everybody watches the ball. You cannot tell me you will not watch the ball. We will film you and we will show you that no matter how you say, what you say you're doing, 90% of the time, even veteran officials are looking at the basketball. And all of a sudden something will happen right in front of them and they'll turn their head and they'll call something. They'll have a clue as to what happened. It's because their natural instinct to watch the basketball. It's like it is to watch the football, you know. Same last week, nobody knows whether anybody's bowling on the line until the official calls it and shows the replay. Same way in basketball. So you have to train yourself because normally there's 2 officials, and remember I told you last week, we got one official basically watching 8 people, and one official watching 2. And really the one that's watching 2 should be watching 1. Because as long as you know whether the defender's legal or not, you are going to have a really difficult time on missing a call. But it's when you see the last half the contact, you're watching the ball, and then you see something happen with the defender, and there you start guessing. 50% of the time you will be wrong. Can't guess right that many times. So learn as we go on the floor to watch the defense. And again, going back to what we just said, watch that defender, and then you'll know 99% of the time whether or not anything's happened. All right, very quickly, because Rule 4 is long, it's going to take 2 weeks to go through it. We'll go halfway through it tonight. We'll go halfway through it next week. Airborne shooter. If you're in here, man, it's hot in here tonight. I'm sorry about that. Chesterfield, well, all the school systems probably shut these things down automatic now. 4 o'clock, air conditioning's off, water's off, everything's off. In high school, if we envision me as a shooter coming in and jumping and leaving the floor and shooting a layup, and that's the easiest way to describe it. I'm going to shoot a layup. At some point, the ball's left my hands going towards the basket. Going back to what we just talked about. If that defender wasn't here when I left the floor, and there's contact, who's the foul got to be on? The defender, right? Because the defense isn't legal. That's the term legal is all we're worried about. Legal or illegal. But Antonio comes in, he jumps up in the air, and I've been here. I've been here before he ever left the floor. So I'm legal. Shoots the ball, and the ball is out of Antonio's hands. And now, before he comes down, he hits me. Okay. But the ball is in the air. And it goes in the basket. Because he let it go long before he hit me. In high school. Okay, I don't do college anymore, so I don't know the college rule. I don't know women's college ball, and I don't want to know the NBA rules. So in high school, the one time we always put the ball back in that shooter's hands is in that situation. It's called an airborne shooter. And the airborne shooter is responsible for all the contact if the defender's legal until they land on the floor. And if Antonio runs over me and then comes down on the floor, because the rule is he's still considered to be a shooter, then we put the ball back in his hands, it's turned to be a player control foul, and there's no shots. Because you see the guy go here, the girl go here, we go the other way. So we always put that ball, no matter where the ball is in relation to Antonio's hands. If he's got it in his hands and he runs over, that's an easy call. Even somebody who hadn't officiated knows that. But if he's let it go, he doesn't have the ball anymore. And by rule, later on in this rule, we'll learn that by rule, once the ball's released, the ball doesn't belong to anybody. I mean, 1 millimeter, we can slide a piece of paper in between the shooter's hand and the ball. The ball is out of the shooter's hands, and now it's everybody's ball. There is no offense, there is no defense, it's just 10 players. The next team to be the offensive team will be whoever gets that ball, whether they get it because it went through, whether they get it because it was a rebound, whether they get it because it went out of bounds. We don't know, we don't care. We're going to find out who the next offensive team is by who gets that ball once something happens to it. The offensive team that had the ball is no longer the offense, except in this very first section of Rule 4. And if it's a shooter, we put that ball back in that person's hands until the person hits the floor. Okay? Now, Antonio shoots the ball, and my square is back here. Okay? And now, the ball is up there. He hits the floor and runs over me. We count that basket because Antonio's come down. Now he's just 1 of 10 players. Okay? And whether or not that's a foul, and I don't want to go too far until we get to talking about types of fouls, but what we have to learn is that the ball becomes dead. The ball becomes dead from the time it goes through the basket till the time the person gets it to take it out of bounds. So we can't have anything but technical fouls called during dead balls, and that's a little bit on deeper in this rule. Just remember, Antonio, airborne shooter. If he hasn't come down, we don't care where that ball is, it's still in his hands. If he comes down and fouls me on the way down, it's a player control foul. Can't have a basket, and we don't have free throws. It's just a foul on Antonio. We go to the table, white 24, play control, blue's ball, we give it to blue right under the basket, and we play. Okay? Everybody got that? All right. Alternate possession error. We went over that last week, but very quickly for you guys that just got here, remember what I said. Alternate possession error is 1. That's a method of saying who gets the ball next. The arrow at the table, and it has to be at the table, it can be on the clock too, but it can't be just on the clock. There has to be an alternate possession error mechanism at the table. Points towards the team who's going to get the next possession. Okay? So if it's pointing towards blue, Blues are gonna get the next possession. We have to figure out how to start this arrow. So we start the arrow process by determining who gets the first possession of the ball game. And the easiest way to remember that is get all the scenarios out of your head and just figure who had the ball first. We don't care how they get it. We don't care if we throw it up, somebody taps it to them. We don't care if they throw it up and somebody on the circle moves as a violation and we give the ball out of bounds to somebody. We don't care if they had too many people in the book or not enough people in the book. We called technical fouls, we shot technical foul free throws, and we awarded the ball out to somebody. Whoever gets the first possession, the other team gets the arrow. And the only time the analogy of the good example we gave last week was the best one I can give. Throw it up, it's going out of bounds, player A in the air, knocks it backwards, player B catches the ball. Player A knocked it backwards, player B caught it, B gets the ball, arrow goes to A. But the ball's going out of bounds and player A, ready coach? Yeah. Player A dives and catches it, throws it to B. Pretty damn good pass for old man, I tell you. Okay, so he throws it and B catches it. What's your logical thought? First possession, right? B caught it. Now, A caught it. The difference between batting that sucker back and catching it is going to determine who gets the arrow. So, who's got the real first possession? B back there, but B caught it because our possession threw it in. They intercepted the pass. Who gets the arrow? B.
Oh, B.
Because remember, the difference between me batting it back, catching it, and throwing it back is going to determine whether B gets the ball and the arrow, or B just gets the arrow. Everybody got that? So it's really important to focus as a crew on how did the first team get the ball. And you really have to be focused for that first possession because it's going to set the sequence in motion for the entire ball game. Because we're never going to have another jump ball again unless that sucker goes out of bounds and we can't determine who it went off of. And then we've got to throw it up again between the two players closest to the ball. So, as a crew, we have to be thinking about that play. Who got that sucker? How did they get that sucker? And if we know how what's happened is wrong, then we don't need to stop the game with the first dead ball we have. The first chance we get during a dead ball. We stop the game, we go to the referee, we say, hey, I think they set the arrow wrong. Remember B caught the ball, B didn't bat the ball. Yeah, I remember that. But B got it over there. We should have B's ball. B, you're right. Referee's gonna go to the two coaches, tell them to play. We're gonna set the arrow, we'll correct the arrow. Now let's just say, that play, and I'll break away from the rule book a little bit, but I need to tell you what you will see in the game. Let's say that play happens, and we don't catch it. We go, I don't know, we go several possessions. We even go to the second period, okay? And the arrow's wrong, and we give the ball, whereas it should have been, I caught it, I threw it, should be his ball off the first possession, he should have had the arrow, but you set the arrow to me, and now to start the second period, they give me the ball because they haven't had any other hill balls. They give me the ball, we throw it in, and we're playing, and all of a sudden the horn blows and goes, hey, wait a minute, we didn't have any hill balls, and you did, blah, 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 blah. Right. Now the arrow's wrong, right? Sequence is wrong. But the rule book covers that. It says to us as a crew, if we screw that up and it happens, we never give the ball to the same team twice in a row. And we've already done that wrong. So now we reverse the arrow. So the next arrow is his, not mine. We'll say, yes, we made a mistake. The arrows were wrong. We did not catch them, but we know what happened. So now, even though we've given Stone's team the ball and they've played, we can't take that back from them. We have to give the arrow to the other team. And you just reverse the arrow and make it right. okay? But the important thing is, boy, you have to know whether or not that first possession, you know, who gained it, how it was gained, and take care of it if you did. And that's all up there on 28. I'm not gonna read that to you, about the setting the direction of the arrow. Just remember that. Now, like I said, remember, if we have a play where you can't determine, let's say the ball going out of bounds, and we have, you know, Reggets and somebody are back there, and they dive for it, we can't tell who it went off of, and now we can't start the game because we don't know who it went off of, or we know it went off of the jumper, okay? But we can't tell whether those two guys or girls touched it, then we have another jump ball. We can't have the arrow set until we can declare a possession. We gotta have somebody have the ball. Once we have the ball, we don't care how they have it. Then we set the arrow. Until then we need to bring them back to the center court, throw it up. We don't jump off in the free throw circles anymore. It's all center court. But it is between, that's a test question, between the two people that were closest to the ball. A lot of people make a mistake and give it back to the centers again, that's wrong. Okay, location of the ball, section 4. This is pretty,
Before you,
Yeah.
explain Article 2 in that Section 3.
the ball is placed at the disposal of the free throw after a common foul when a bonus free throw is in effect, setting the direction. Okay, so that would mean, let's say, say, I don't know, let me think of a play that would do that. We've awarded the throw-in to start, think about my play here, because this is going to be able to do. We've awarded the throw-in for the third period, and we're in the bonus to Team B. And on the throw-in, before the ball is possessed, somebody fouls somebody. Let's say I was trying to guard the team that they were throwing it into, and I fouled the person who's receiving the ball, okay? At the point where, if we've given it to the wrong team, once we put the ball at the disposal of that free throw shooter, if we've switched the arrow, that arrow is not switched. We only switch the arrow after the throw-in is completed. We never have, that's why, if, let's just say, we have this play. This is the easiest way without a free throw. It's Blue's ball by the arrow. We have a held ball, we give it to Blue. Blue steps out of bounds, they've got the ball, okay? And now, something happens between Blue throwing it in and a Blue player actually possessing the ball. Let's say A says that's a horse crap call and they get a technical foul. At that point, we would shoot the technical free throws. We got to throw in off of the technical foul. Because the throw in off the arrow was never completed, B would have gotten the free throws, B would have gotten the throw in off the technical foul on A, and then B keeps the arrow. So we don't switch that arrow until the throw in is complete. And I know that doesn't make sense to you. I promise you. You have to have the throw, and remember, again, we have to go in when the throw-in starts and is completed. The throw-in isn't completed until it's touched by a player in bounds. Go ahead.
All right. This is real minutia rules, like once every 10 years. See, all right. I've run a clock at one of the middle schools for a few years. I was always clicking arrows when the ball was handed to the player inbound.
And that's wrong.
Now you're telling me that's wrong. Okay, I got
Never
that.
switch the arrow until the throw-in is complete.
Hand the ball to the guy throwing in the ball. He travels because he should establish
Ooh,
a pivot.
well,
foot.
that's a different play. The throw-in was completed when the guy possessed the ball and the
No,
girl.
the throw
and
was never done because he traveled.
Well,
when
then
he
how
gave
can
the
they
ball.
travel if they don't have the ball?
On a whistle, you can't run the baseline if it's after a whistle.
That's not a travel, that's a spot violation.
Spot violation. Okay, spot violation.
So now I don't mean that's sarcastic.
Yeah, no,
We've
I
applied
got you.
an inbounds violation term
Yeah.
to an out-of-bounds thing.
When I used to coach,
So-
I'd call
so-
travel because I'd say establish a pivot foot.
Wait till we get to what is determined the spot.
Okay.
Because when we talk about that in Rule 4, we're going to define what they can and can't do from the throw-in spot.
Okay.
I'd rather do that because then it'll make sense.
Okay.
Can't travel out of bounds. And
So you
no
can
matter
turn
what
the
you
ball
do,
over without possessing it.
that's exact. Once bottom line is, that arrow should never be changed until the ball is inbounds in somebody's possession and we go somewhere. We don't change the arrow on the award, we change the arrow when the ball is inbounds.
In the
The
air.
ball's in play.
The ball's picked off.
No, because what happens if I'm throwing it into Reggets and it's in the air and my teammate, you, fouls Bree?
Okay.
Well, okay, that's a foul, right? I mean,
Yes.
foul. Bree was cutting to the basket and she wasn't open, so I threw it to Reggets, it's in the air. We still do not have the throw-in completed. So if we're in the bonus, you foul Bree, Bree's gonna shoot, but Bree's gonna shoot and the arrow remains mine.
Okay, so you said throw and completed, it can be intercepted by the other team.
Well, that's
and
complete because
it's
it's a player on the
complete.
floor who's
Okay.
got the ball.
All right.
Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you.
No, no, I got you, I hear
Okay.
you.
All right, so are we good? Okay, I'll read them very quick. A player, okay, alternate possession arrow is established and the initial direction of the possession arrow is set towards an opponent when a player secures the ball control as after jumping, the jump ball starts the game or an extra period. Remember, you only have one jump ball in the game until you get to extra periods. Every extra period is a new jump ball. It's not just a jump ball in extra period one and then the arrow is set like it is for the normal game. Every extra period you throw it up. You don't throw it up every period. 2, the ball is placed at the disposal of a free throw after a common foul when the bonus free throw is in effect. Okay? Once it's at their disposal, then we set the arrow. The arrow's changed or whatever. The ball is placed at the disposal of the thrower after a violation. Okay? Free throws for a non-common foul. That's getting way too much. We don't worry about that until we get to the definition of fouls. A common foul before bonus, that's new. Just remember, if blue has the ball, and we give the ball to blue, until that ball is touched in bounds by somebody, and actually the book says the throw-in is legally completed. So that means if the player doing what you did, I step in bounds when I throw it in, that's a violation on the thrower in. I take more than 5 seconds, that's a violation on the throw in. We've never thrown the ball in. If we've never thrown the ball in, we're going to actually give the other team the ball on the violation. But I still keep the arrow because the throw-in just wasn't completed legally. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Got to complete that throw-in legally. Okay. Location of the ball, pretty simple. Basically, when you read that, it is last in contact with whatever it touches or touches last. So if it's inbounds, headed out of bounds, it's not out of bounds until it touches something out of bounds, including the supports for the backboard. But it's got to touch something. Okay? If somebody's out of bounds and they're touched by the ball is out of bounds. So if I'm dribbling the ball in the sideline and you're a defender and you've got 1 foot out of bounds and 1 foot in bounds, and I dribble the ball off your leg, the ball's out of bounds. Even though I dribble it off of you, you are out of bounds, and a player can't be out of bounds for any unnecessary reason, so you've caused the ball to go out of bounds. Once it's out of bounds until it touches somebody in bounds. So that means, in middle school you see this play all the time. I'm the player out of bounds, my teammate's in bounds. I throw it in, she bats it right back. The defender or somebody bats it back, and I catch it. Okay? Not out of bounds on whoever batted it in, it's out of bounds on me because I'm out of bounds. We want to give it to the other team because, that team because it just doesn't look right. We think whoever hit the ball, it's me, but by rule, once I throw it in, I'm supposed to go directly in bounds. So if I'm out, it causes me to go out. A little nuance off of that though is if I'm dribbling the ball down the sideline and I hit you, and you've got 1 foot on the line and 1 foot in bounds, the ball isn't out of bounds. Because the ball didn't touch you. I touched you. So I can bounce off of you and we just play on. But if I dribble the ball and it hits any part of you, you've caused the ball to be out of bounds. Okay? I don't even think that play is in that description, but that's the one you'll see. Okay. Okay, and then down to Article 7. Oh, well, let's go, wait a minute, one more, 6. This is a confusing one. let's say I got the division line, okay? The division line separates front court from back court. The division line, let's say it's this green line up here, big green line. Well, let's use blue. Most people can see this one. It's the blue line. That's 20 times bigger than the line on the floor. Let's say that's my 2-inch division line. Back here behind me is back court. Up here in front court. This line is back court. The whole line is back court. Okay? The goofy rule on back court on the dribbler, which is what 6 applies itself to, is this. If I'm dribbling the ball up the floor, I'm going to do a couple plays, and I just want you to embarrass yourself a little bit by raising your hand and tell me, when I ask you, is this a violation? If you think it's wrong, just raise your hand. If you think it's not wrong, don't raise your hand. Because I'm dribbling the ball up the floor. That's my division line. I step in the front court, and I step back in the back court. How many think that's illegal? Okay? I'm dribbling the ball up the floor. I'm still dribbling the ball up the floor. I step in the front court with both feet. I'm still dribbling the ball back here on my blue line on back court. I step back here. How many think that's illegal? I'm dribbling the ball up the floor. I stand and dribble it in front court, dribble it in back court, dribble it in front court, dribble it in back court. Then I step in the front court and I continue to dribble in back court. How many think that's illegal? All of those are legal plays. All 3 things have to be in front court for the ball to be in front court. Both of my feet and the ball have to touch front court. So if I'm dribbling the ball to the floor and I step in the front court, I've got to put my hand on the board to do this because that was bad here. I dribble in front court, but I have this foot in the air and it's getting ready. And this is where I differ with the rules makers tremendously. Because in my judgment, this human being is now in front court. This foot is up. Nothing about them is touching back court. They'll never convince me that they're in back court. But the rule is, until this foot actually touches down, I pick it up, I can actually step back. Now there's a 10-second count that's going on. I mean, I got to get that sucker over the division line in 10 seconds or less. But all of those plays are legal. Because when the dribbler is involved, both feet and the ball have to have touched into front court.
At the same time.
No, not at the same time. I mean, they can be like this. But if they haven't touched, if you're looking at the dribbler and you go, you know what? 2 feet are in front court, the ball's in the air, but the ball came back down in back court, then we haven't had the ball get in the front court yet. If they dribble the ball in the front court, they're standing here and they take a foot and they move it back and forth while they're dribbling. If they step in the front court and they pick this foot up, as long as they don't do this, then we can't put both feet in the ball in front court. So we can't have a penalty. Okay? So you gotta watch that one close. That's what 6 is involved with. It's just what you need to watch it. Now, hold on. Remember I said the dribbler. So if there's a division line, I gotta spread my feet a little bit. You're my teammate, you've got the ball in back court, and you pass me the ball. If you pass me the ball, as long as I got something in back court, I'm in back court. So I can do this. I can pass it back to you. Again, we got a 10-second count going, but that's a whole separate rule. I'm talking right now about what's a violation on the back court. But I'm not the dribbler, and you throw it to me, and I pick that foot up. Now I am in front court. Because the 3 points only apply to the dribbler. And so once I pick that foot up, if I throw that sucker to you, or if I set my foot back down, or if I dribble on that line, that ball was in front court when I had it, and now I've caused it to go back court. The simple explanation for back court now, and we were talking about that, some of you may have heard me say, is this. If I have the ball in front court, and my offensive team is the last to touch the ball, no matter how it's touched, whether I'm holding it, whether you pass it to me and it hits me in the head, whether I'm dribbling it and I dribble it off my leg, if we're in front court with that ball and the ball is caused to go into backcourt, which means the line and everything back there. If the offensive team causes that ball to go there, the offense can't be the first to touch it in backcourt and keep the ball. They can touch it. Again, JV, middle school games, you'll see kids that, you know, the ball will go in the backcourt and they'll put their arms in and run down the floor saying, hey, I can't touch this. Well, they can touch it. It's going to be the other team's ball, but it's a live ball, and they don't let the ball just roll down there because the other team can pick it up and shoot and score. So it's not a dead ball, but once they touch it, remember, if the offense is the last to touch it in front court and the first to touch it in back court, that's illegal. And all they've got to do is touch it. They don't have to possess it. They don't have to possess it. They can't touch it. So I can't dribble it off my leg and go down. Once I touch that ball, whoop, we got a whistle. And it's a violation, backcourt violation. Offense was the last to touch the ball in front court, the first to touch it in backcourt. That's the easiest way I can tell you to remember the question.
There's a scenario that I had a question about.
All right?
Let's say Team A is taking the ball out under their own basket.
Oh, okay.
All right? And they throw the ball in.
Okay.
And the guy is close to half court. The
Okay.
A player. And the ball is tipped by the A player and the ball goes in the backcourt. They're able to get the ball and it's not backcourt.
Nope. We can't have backcourt until we've got possession on the floor. That's why we can't have a backcourt on a throw-in. A lot of times you will see a player stands at the division line, throw the ball to a player who jumps from front court to back court, and they get the ball while they're in the air. The player doesn't establish their status until they land, because the ball was out of bounds. And because of that, once they come down, they're in back court. Now, if we throw the ball into this player, and that player passes to somebody who's in the air, we change the play. It was in front court when that player caught it, and when they passed it to a teammate who jumped and carried it into back court. So we can't have a back court on the open tip unless we have a player jump, catch the ball, and pass the ball to somebody in the back court. But if it just goes up and people are jumping in the air, we don't care where they're jumping from. We can't have backcourt. I don't want to get too far into that rule. The real rule reads we have to have two factors. We have to have possession in bounds, and then it can't be the first to touch, the last to touch it, and the first to touch it. The easiest play I can tell you to use, again, this is throwing stuff off the wall that somewhere along you'll remember, is I'm out of bounds. Your team has just scored. I see my teammate open. I pass it up, but when I pass it, my teammate turns around, hits him in the back of the head, comes back into back court. He hit him in the head in front court. But we've never had possession. So we can't have a violation. But if I pass the ball into Antonio, who's right here, he turns and throws it up the floor and hits their teammate in the back of the head. And then rebounds in the backcourt. We've met the criteria. We've had possession in bounds. We were the last to touch it up here. If it comes in the backcourt, we can't be the first to touch it. We got a violation. So we have to know whether or not the team had possession, you know, what was occurring. There's a lot of stuff right there. I almost apologize for going that deep with you. I really do. But again, we only have 10 weeks, and I'd rather throw this stuff off the wall. It'll happen in the game. You'll mess it up, and then you'll think, I remember that. And that's what it's all about. Okay, in 7, we have to know when the ball is at the disposal of another team. So we got a dead ball, and then we're going to put it in play somehow. If it's handed to the thrower or free thrower, then it's at the disposal. If we bounce it to the free thrower or the thrower, when they catch it, it's at their disposal. Not before. Here's the play you'll screw up. The lead official, that's the official out of bounds on free throws. There's two-person crews. We've got one person out in the center of the floor, one person underneath in the lane. So I'm the lead official. I get the ball. I'm checking my people, blah, 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 blah. I go like, hey, 1-1, and I bounce the ball, and 2 players go across the lane, or 2 players change spots. They went in the wrong spots. Now I didn't check them. Okay? We can't have a violation because possession isn't gained, the disposal, ball in at the disposal of that shooter on the free throw line until they physically catch it. And we can tell the kids, hey, you guys can't be doing that. But we can't call a violation because we don't have the ball at the disposal of the free thrower. It's only at the disposal of the free thrower when we hand it to them or we put it down the free throw line because they just are refusing to come. So,
Excuse me, you're saying if it's 2 kids on the same team,
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. My point, the whole point about this is, since we're talking about when it's at the disposal,
Understood.
we can't have that violation occur until that free thrower is considered to have the ball. Whether they're there or not, we don't care. If it's on the free throw, if it's laying on the floor, because they just had said, hey, we're in the huddle and we're not coming out, we decided, hey, to get them going, we gotta put it down, okay? It's at their disposal. What's at their disposal when they catch it? But you do see the play a lot where I've got the ball and I've released it to the shooter and it's bouncing to the shooter and then kids move. I just gotta get the ball back. Because we can't have a violation until my shooter is considered to have the ball at their disposal. It's not at their disposal when I'm bouncing it. It's coming to them, but not with them. And the rule book covers that. It clearly says if the ball is being bounced to the shooter, they are not in possession of the ball. It's not at their disposal, so we can't have a violation. Once they catch that sucker, if those same 2 players move, now we might have a delayed dead ball if it's a defender, or we might have a whistle on a dead ball if it's an offensive player. I've no reason to even go there, where that is. But is that, see what I'm talking about?
I understand.
Okay, that's cool. That's all right. Caught by the thrower, we just talked about. Placed on the floor, that's something that is at our disposal. We hardly ever do that. You gotta be a real, I'm not even gonna say what you have to be. We're not in the habit of putting the ball down. Hardly ever happens. Number one, if you put the ball down on the free throw line, then nobody can come in, which means if the offense runs in, they violate it. So the only thing they can do to save themselves is call a timeout. The defense can't call a timeout because the ball's already at the disposal of the shooter, even though it's laying on the floor. Once in a while, on a throw-in from the sideline, following a timeout or following a violation, normally following a timeout, you will have a team kind of dragging to get back. Especially young kids. They don't know what's going on. So, you have to use this penalty stringently. It's not something you do. Normally I will look at Regis and he'll blow his whistle again, so let's go away. They're not, they don't ever gain an advantage by not showing up because the first time they don't show up, if we put it on the floor and they don't get there and release a throw in 5 seconds, it's a delay of game. That's the only delay of game they can get during that game. That's my rule. I had that rule changed. Used to be relatively recent, that you got a delay of game for almost everything. Coach, thank you again. Couldn't do it without you. This is your understanding. Okay, and thanks for the ball. I got a ball from somebody.
Yeah, Simon got it for me, told me to leave it in the room.
So there's delays. There's delays for not coming out of a huddle. There's a delay for not showing up at the throw-in. There's a delay for not being on the foul line. There's a delay for spilling the wall. We wound up having to keep track of like 9 delays. And I wrote and said it's ridiculous. We should have 1 delay a game to change the rule. So now, if they do that, it's a delay. The next delay they get is a technical foul. For any reason. For any reason. So it's 1 delay per game per team. There's no advantage to screwing around with the officials. They just go to sleep. They go to sleep and it's our job to get them out. We'll teach you a process on how to get them out. You have to go in there and pull people out, you do it. But it's just, that's in the book. The option is there. You can set it on the floor. But you just, in my 45 years, I probably set it on the floor less than 5 times. I would almost guess less than 3. So it's just, you don't want to do that. You can do it. If they're not there, the horn blows and the whistle blows, it's the second horn, and you got a right to do it. But, you nobody's going to want you to referee. But we talked about the team's basket. It's one which the players try to throw the ball. Hopefully it's the right one. Each team's basket for practice is opposite the one that they're sitting on. Teams change baskets for the second half, and they remain that way for the remainder of the game, no matter how many overtimes. Overtimes are part of the second half. So all the statistics, all the free throws, all the timeouts, except there's an additional timeout for each overtime period. Everything in basketball runs as if we had 6 overtimes, it's just part of the fourth period. Part of the fourth period. Pretty simple. Okay, and if by mistake the official permit a team to go in the wrong direction, we talked about that. When it's discovered, then all points scored up to that point count for the team, and then after that, all points scored count for the basket of the team that goes in. Pretty simple. Basket interference. I want to go over basket interference and goaltending all at once. Can I? Coach, is that right on this? Am I good? Okay, okay. You got a backboard, got a rim. Okay. We have 2 terms in basketball that are often confused. One is basket interference, and that's what we're talking about now. One is goaltending. In reality, it doesn't matter which one you call it because both of them have the same penalties. But there are different criteria for each one. Okay, and goaltending, the key is it's got to be a shot. For basket interference, the only thing we do is we envision the rim, and we envision a cylinder that goes all the way up to the ceiling. And I'm not going to read this to you. I'm going to tell you what that rule says. When the ball, any part of the ball, any part of that ball is in that cylinder, if any part of the ball is on the rim, and the rim is its base, not a ball that's shot straight into the rim that hits in front of the rim, the ball's on the rim, or the ball is in the basket, nobody, absolutely nobody, except in international ball, FIBA, can mess with that. So if the offense touches it, it's immediately dead, and the ball goes to the defense. If the defense touches it, it's an awarded basket. Count the basket for the team that shot. And then we take it out of bounds and let them run as if they had made the goal. So if A is on defense and they go up here and they touch that ball, and we award the basket to B, then that ball is as if it went in the hole. So we allow them to run. We don't give it out of bounds because it's a violation. It's a violation by rule, but it's not a spot go-in. Okay, so everybody clear on what basket interference is. Any part of the ball that cylinder goes straight up. Now I'll tell you what, in 2-person officiating, this is not the lead's call unless we're running down the floor in transition and we got a fast break and they're ahead of everybody. If I'm that lead official turning the corner, I have to make the play because my partner's back there in back court somewhere. We don't want somebody coming from 75 to 80 feet to call it. But in normal play, this is not something you call when you're the lead out of bounds because you're seeing things through the backboard. Can't see that. You're guessing at that. Okay, I know what you are. The best in the country can't see that. So that's a trail's call. Just remember, no part of the ball in the cylinder, no part of the ball on the rim is its base, no part of the ball in the basket. And you can't reach up through the net. If you do and you touch the ball, that's basket interference. So the awarded basket if it's a defense, if it's the offense, it's a dead ball immediately. Goaltending, famous North Carolina State play, is a shot. There's got to be a shot, a legal shot. So we couldn't have goaltending if we were at the other team's basket, right? Because you can't shoot at the other team's basket legally. Okay. It's got to be above the rim. It's got to be on its downward flight. And it has the opportunity to go in. Okay? If all four of those things are there, if you're out there and you're refereeing and you see somebody shoot the ball, and you say, hey, that ball's got as high as it's gonna go, it's a legal try, and it started down, not on the way up, okay, downward flight. Above the rim, the one in North Carolina State was below the rim. Okay, below the rim.
It was never getting there.
Never gonna get there. And it's gotta have the opportunity to go in. All four of these criteria to have goaltending must be met. Okay, they must be met. If one of them is missing, we may still have basket interference, because that's judged on simply the relationship of the ball to the cylinder. We don't care how it got there. In fact, it's the only time you can score from out of bounds. If I pass the ball directly in bounds to a teammate and it happens to go over the basket and the defense goes up and messes with the ball while it's in the cylinder, we're awarding a basket. Even though if I pass the ball into my teammate and it goes in the basket, that's a violation because I haven't thrown it directly in bounds. That's not a test question, it used to be. But again, so in your mind, the first thing I do, and the term is systematized, I try to give that to every class every year. Tom Frame, a guy down the beach, taught me that. My system on these two terms, basket interference and goaltending, is simply my first question in my head immediately when my computer goes off, was it a shot? If the answer is no, then the only thing I know we can have is this. Right? Does that make sense to you? It's kind of like, was the defense legal? If the answer is no, we can't have a foul on the defender. Right? We said that. Well, it's the same here. If we say, was it a shot? And by the way, it has to be a legal shot. Remember? Pardon my writing off the board here, off to the right or left, but it's got to be a legal shot. So was it a shot, was it legal? Then, real quickly, I go, was it above the rim? Downward flight, they have a chance to go in. If any of those, if I come to a no at any time in that little discussion in my head, I immediately shift to this because this is the only thing I can have. If all four of these are met, then I've got to really focus on who's going to get their hand on that ball. Because again, it's going to be the same penalty. Defense does it, we're going to award a basket. Offense does it, get a dead ball. And we got hands everywhere up there sometimes. Even now at the JV level, because there's some big kids that play JV. So the difference between goaltending and basket interference, primarily, one's got to have a shot, one doesn't have to have a shot. If there's a shot and it's legal, do we meet these other criteria? Above the rim, downward flight, chance to go in. If any of those are missing, we can't have anything but basket interference. If they're all there, we can still have this, or we can still have that. Because we have two options. The only other thing I forgot to tell you is in the rule book is now they have collapsible rings. Somebody goes up and breaks the ring away, snaps back up into place without touching the ball, nothing. Breaks the rim away, hits the ball on the way up, that's the same as if that person that touched the ball. So if the defense breaks it away, we're going to award a basket. If the offense breaks it away, it's a dead ball and it's the other team's ball out of bounds.
So grabbing the net during a shot without pulling the rim down.
Absolutely no problem.
Slapping the backboard.
Ah, we didn't say anything about slapping the backboard. That's a whole separate play.
Okay.
Okay? Question was, can you grab the net just by mistake or whatever? The answer is, if you grab the net, there's nothing wrong with that. But what you can't do is grab the net with the ball on the rim or in the basket. Because
So
then we
if
got a
you're
whole
not,
play.
so if the ball's on the rim, hand in the net, defender hand in the net. then
There you
it's
go,
pass
we got a
interference.
violation.
All right, gotcha.
But we got nothing. If one hits the net, it hits the rim and bounds up above and is in the cylinder, and the net's flying all over everywhere, and everybody's screaming, that's basket interference. No, it's not. We just don't have time to stop the game telling everybody. You just gotta listen to it and think. We remember that from the training class, it's not basket interference. Okay, everybody clear with basket interference and goaltending? This is later on in Rule 4, so we probably won't even go over that because we've just gone over it. Shot, legal, above, downward flight, chance to go in. Any of that missing, we go immediately to basket interference. Any part of the ball in the cylinder from the ring to the ceiling. From the ring to the ceiling. Okay, so a bad shot hits the rim, goes up, hits the top of the backboard, comes back down, is on the way to the basket, somebody hits the ball, got basket interference. Nobody can mess with the ball while it's in the cylinder. Zero. Nada. Never excuse that. Can't be like, oh, well, it was headed out. We don't care where it was headed. If it's in that cylinder and somebody messes with it, the team that messes with it is either going to be killed and no basket, or somebody's going to get a point awarded if it's in defense. Okay? Everybody cool with that? Good deal. All right. On to, let's see, blocking and charging. Pretty simple. The easiest thing for me to tell you is blocking is illegal personal contact. We talked about that right there. We talked about you can't impede the progress of an opponent without the ball. So remember I said when the defense wasn't legal and somebody doesn't have the ball, you got to give them room. Thank you, Paul. Oh, we can erase that.
Coach, that was
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so illegal personal contact that impedes the progress of somebody with or without the ball. Okay. They drop down to B. Well, we can go to A. Player who's moving with the ball is required to stop and change direction to avoid contact. Stone said that. If the defensive player has obtained legal guarding position, that's exactly the quote I gave. The whole key is, did I get to that block before you got there? And do you have the ball in your possession? Two elements we have to know. Not just one, two. But who are we refereeing? Defense. And two, if the guard has obtained a legal guarding position, we got that block. Player with the ball must get his head and shoulders or her head and shoulders before the torso, past the torso of the defensive player. If contact occurs on the torso prior to that, the defensive player is responsible after that. The dribble is responsible if it occurs after that, the defensive. So if the offensive player gets their head and shoulders past the defender, and then there's contact, the defense is liable. If they haven't gotten their head and shoulders by, the offense is liable. There must be reasonable space between two defensive players or the defensive player and a boundary. That's the one where we say they're stepping close to the sideline. In other words, all this is saying is an offensive player can't force their way between two players. If two players are side by side, and the offensive player forces their way through, the foul's on the offense. Okay? If there's less than 3 feet space, that's what that says. The dribble has a greater responsibility for that. Player with the ball may not push, shove, do whatever with their torso to gain an advantage. Makes sense. Bonus free throw, very quickly. That's the second or third free throws. Well, second free throw or first of a 1-and-1 in high school on the 7th foul. Okay, first of all, back up a little bit. Since some of you played, certainly since I played, and no, I did not play with the peach basket up, but when I played,
Didn't happen.
that's right, the free throws were on 5. Now it's on the 7th, there's a 1-and-1. Prior to the 7th team foul, okay, we never shoot free throws if the foul is on the offense, unless the foul is intentional or flagrant or personal. So there's just a common foul. If it's an illegal pick or screen, if it's a charge. It can be a charge, it can be a player control charge, but it can be a charge by an offensive player just running over top of somebody. If the foul is on the offense, and it's 6 fouls or less, okay, or any time we have an offensive foul, excuse me, that's my mistake, we do not shoot bonus free throws. We only shoot bonus free throws when they're on the defender or the defensive team. We must get to 7 before we shoot the 1-and-1. We must get to 10 before we shoot 2. The other thing you have to remember is this: if we have multiple free throws, i.e. a 2-shot double bonus, you would call it right now, and it's a 2-shot, okay, 2-shot foul, then if we have multiple shots and we have substitutes, we don't substitute until the last of the multiple free throws. So if we have 2 free throws, we don't substitute on the first one, we substitute on the second one. If we have 3 free throws, we don't shoot on the first or second, we substitute on the third. The exception to that is if we have an injured player, or somebody has to go in for blood, we can bring everybody in that might be at the table. But that's with everybody, it's kind of open door policy. But in general, we've got somebody at the table. What's the rationale? Because the coach freezes the shooter. They start sending people up one at a time, going, hey, I got a sub. Oh, I got a sub. Oh, I got a sub. No. They hold them at the table, and when the last free throw of the sequence is about to be shot, you bring them in. Pretty simple process. Questions? Okay, we talked about bonus free throw. Over to 30. Player control, team control, and technical fouls are counted as team fouls. Remember in high school, unlike any other level of play, every foul counts towards the bonus. So whether it's a technical foul for not putting a player in the book, whether it's, the only time it's not is if it's an indirect technical foul, which is part of the bench personnel. Somebody on the bench screams, hey, that's a horse crap call, we stick that person. It's indirectly to the head coach. That's not 2 technicals in the book. It's 2 technicals recorded. The record shows the trainer got one for screaming that's a horse crap call, and then the coach got one indirectly because coach is responsible for all bench personnel. But we would only shoot 2 free throws. It's not 4 free throws. It's not double jeopardy. We have to make sure though that we report both of those free throws. Both of those technical fouls. Okay. Only counts as 1 team foul. That's what that says. Okay? They don't count as 2. Tommy P. buried Charlie Stein the last day he was ever alive with that call, with that question. He just kept saying, we've got to have two charged fouls in the book. No, we have to have 2 reported fouls in the book. But 1 is indirect. It's only 1 team foul. You had a question?
I do. So suppose you have fans, or honestly parents or fans that are, screaming at you, cursing at you and things. Can you give a technical to the team?
I'm used to that.
I just want to can you give a technical to that team? To the team?
Yeah, I told you, my mother's booed me. I'll whack her and throw her out of the gym. No. Fans, you might remember from last week, I threw a lot at you. We'll probably get to that later on. We don't referee outside the lines. Stop the game, go to game management, say we need that person taken care of, and they take care of it. We don't call. Only time you could possibly call a technical foul on somebody in the stands is if they threw something on the floor. But my problem with that is you don't know whether somebody threw it on the floor from team A to get team B a technical. And since I'm not looking up there in the stands, I don't care. Now if they keep throwing stuff or something crazy like that happens, but I've never had that in all my years, we just don't referee outside the line. You got enough to take care of on the benches, the coaches, and the players. We have somebody else not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's whoever my game management person is in charge of the facility that night. That's their problem. They need to take care of that problem. Chris Brown and Tucker. I went to Chris and said, hey Chris, in fact there was a situation last year where a parent was one of the parents of a good player. We don't care how good the player is. And the guy's just absolutely making an idiot of himself. An idiot. And we got to send the AD there and say, hey, you need to be quiet, you need to leave. He's not listening to this. Number 1, I'm not going to let you embarrass your kid. Number 2, I'm not going to let you be unsporting. Number 3, I'm not taking that. I only get 50-some bucks for this game. I'm not listening to this for 50 bucks. And I expect them to take it out. Now, let's say they say no. I've never had anybody say that. But if they say no, then okay, well, we're just not going to play. We're going to suspend play. I'm not going to, we can't forfeit it. Don't do that either, please. Aaron's head would explode if you called and told him he suspended in the game because the parent was screaming. Just get the game over with and report that to Aaron. He would take that up with the AD. But I told the group here last week, any police officer, and those guys and ladies salivate over a chance to go arrest somebody. So, just tell the police officer, hey, can you take care of that? Their eyes light up. Start to drool a little bit. Next thing you know, we got no problem because they're at the door with whoever was giving you problems. So somebody will take care of it, but no technical fouls. Okay, Closely guarded, we've talked about, but just know in high school, there is a closely guarded rule. I'm not gonna get into front foot, your front foot, their front foot. Basically, the rule is this. If I'm on defense and I'm 6 feet from the person I'm guarding and I'm playing defense, there should be a count going. Okay, count. Count starts. Every time the 6 feet is broken, count stops. If I dribble past the defender, count stops. We gotta be face to face, 6 feet or less apart. I gotta be in possession of the ball, holding or dribbling. The defender's gotta be. If you start to count, you wanna step down inside so the defender can see the count. So if you're the trail, and 99 times out of 100, it's the trail's count. If that's my point guard, normally I'm like this because I want to be able to see the floor. But if that point guard is closely guarded, I want to step down in here so the point guard will see, hey, got to make something happen. Because the point guard's only got 5 seconds to do what we call change the status of the ball. I'll say this quick. Again, it's throwing something off the wall. There's 3 things you can do with the ball. You can dribble it, you can shoot it, okay, you can pass it. If you've got the ball and you're holding the ball, you can hold it for 4 seconds. You can dribble it for 4 seconds if you're closely guarded. Then you gotta stop and either hold it, shoot it, or pass it to get rid of it. You can't continually either dribble or hold the ball if you're closely guarded for more than 4 seconds. So the max that any one player could control the ball closely guarded would be, if I get the ball thrown to me and I catch it, 1,001, 2, 3, 4. Then I start to dribble, which changes status, 1,001, 2, 3, 4. And then I stop and I hold it, 1,001, 2, 3, 4. And now I've got to get rid of that sucker, shoot it, pass it, something's got to happen. I can't get to 5, we're going to get a violation. If at any time we separate more than 6 feet, count stops, we'll have no problem. If the ball passed to me, and I immediately start dribbling, 1,001, 2, 3, 4. 1,001, 2, 3, 4. I go from 12 to 8. Because I don't have that first segment, which is why a lot of coaches teach their point guards don't catch the pass on the dribble. Catch the ball, survey the lane. So if I catch it, I got 4 dribbling, I got 4 hold. If I dribble it off the catch, I've got 4, and I've got 4 hold, and something's got to happen. I got to get rid of that sucker. Okay? Everybody got that? That's what they're saying. Okay? Closely guarded. 6 feet. There's a sign that we use late in the game, normally. Or if it's been a really tight situation where, let's say we've been counting, and all of a sudden they separate. You'll see officials do this. Do not make that a sign that you use 38 times in a game. You do not want to be going. Make this mean something. Like, okay, I'm looking at the play, and they're farther than 6 feet. That's indicating to the coaches and the players and your partner that, hey, I see this, and in my judgment, they're not, there's no closely guarded. Or they've been closely guarded for several seconds, and now they've broken it. Okay, now we're separated. But don't be doing this. Some people just like to do stuff like that. I can't figure out why. If you're going to start a count, remember, once you start to count, you can't stop it unless something changes. Like if you start to count and then you go, oh, I shouldn't be counting, you better not stop because everybody's seeing you start to count. And when you get to 5, you better blow your whistle because they're counting with you. So my advice to you is don't start your counts quickly. Go in your head, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Nobody's going to holler at you to start with. They'll only holler at you after, hey, I'm supposed to go. Okay. By the time they're hollering, I'm starting to count, they'll shut up. I'd rather give the player 7 seconds than give them 4 and me blow the whistle. So as long as I'm consistent and I start my count slow, that's why when I hand the ball to a thrower, they've got 5 seconds to release the ball. I'm going to hand them the ball and step away and then start to count. I don't care if they get 6. One of the best officials in the country called a violation in a college game that everybody in the house knew, and they proved by putting a clock on him on TV that it was like not even 4. It was like 3.5 or 4. But he got caught up in the moment, counting fast, 5, turned the ball over, huge possession, 2-point game. Can't do that. That's not our job. We don't want to do stuff that puts us in harm's way. So yes, do we have to count? Sure. Are there counts that we have to have? Sure. Are there moments in the game where you need to have a count? Always. But when you start that count, use your head and start it to your advantage. Don't start it that's going to put you in the hole. Okay?
Jerry,
Yo.
so the count would start, like, okay, I'm here, you're in front of me, you're closely guarding me, I catch the ball.
Right.
Then that count would start.
Yes, correct. When you're in possession of that thing.
Okay, so I catch the ball, but like you said, I'm not gonna start 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, you kind of give yourself the opportunity to say, okay, first of all, are they 6 feet?
Yeah.
And then kind of in your head go, yeah, I agree with that. And then, okay, so now we have to, there's a rule. So, okay, now I'm going to start my count. They may have had it for a second and a half. But when they put that sucker on film and they put a stopwatch on it, we won't be at 6.5. Coach can't call Aaron and say, hey, Stone's counting too quick. What's funny, I timed it when I saw the game film, Aaron's was saying it's 7 seconds.
So,
5 is a violation. I think he gave him too much time. You know?
because it seems like, honestly, just from, I've never been an official standpoint before, but as far as being a fan, it seems like people are guarding closely all game long.
Well,
So we're gonna have this.
well, you gotta remember,
pretty much all
what I
game.
told you last week was, everybody's rooting for somebody except us. So when you're rooting for somebody, you do not see the thing through a clear set of glasses. You know? And I told you also that we're the only people expected to be perfect when we start and get better. I mean, the first time you go on the floor, you better be absolutely perfect, according to the coaches and the fans. They don't care that, oh, excuse me, I just started class, I'm in my 6 weeks of class, it's the first time I've been on the court. I don't care. That's my child, and she didn't foul. That's what they care about. And the coaches don't want you to cheat, but they want to call the ball. If they don't get the call of the ball, they think you're cheating. That's all they want. They're not your friends. Okay? They want the call of the ball. But in the case of the fans, sure it does. But again, the fans in the stands, and you do not, here's my statement, I'm going to go over it one more time. I don't care whether it's a silent count in your head, 3 seconds. I don't care whether it's a visible count closely guarded, a visible count on a throw-in. I could care a visible count for 10 seconds on a free throw. You do not start the counts early, because we all count differently. We'll be close, but if we count differently, we don't want to err on the side of we screwed up. We want to say the kid had more than ample opportunity not to get penalized, and they chose not to. I've never seen 10 seconds called on a free throw. Has anybody ever seen that? What? You've seen it?
I have seen it.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
You must have been in my game. Because I had a freaking state game or something at the, I guess it's a single zone. Whatever game it was, it was a single zone. And we got a kid who gets the ball, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009 count. I'm going under my breath. Shoot it! Shoot it! 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. We got to 15. I was humiliated. I caught violation, and a reporter sitting behind me says, "You have just set a record that absolutely no one in this country will break. You call a violation on a free throw." And I said, well, we got to 15. Something's got to happen. I mean, at some point in time, if he recocks, Lord knows what everybody's going to say. But you just don't call that. I
Just,
mean,
just to get your back,
Yes,
way
sir.
back in the day, I know you don't watch the NBA,
I don't. Well, I don't know the rule though.
Karl Malone. They used to complain about Karl Malone taking all day on the
Was
court.
Karl Malone the star?
Oh, yeah.
He was okay. Overrated, but okay.
So at that point, we not gonna call that on call. Just like we don't call it on, you know, Charles Barkley. So anyway, but never the point.
Barkley was better.
That's not my issue. I don't want to get into stories. The point, don't start your counts early. Start your counts late. Give yourself a count or two before you start to count, where everybody else can see you. You may be counting in your head, but you're not going to count visibly until you know, give everybody a chance to get involved, and it is what it is. Okay, continuous motion. Boy, see this in high school. Somebody goes to shoot, drops steps, gets fouled, lays it up, we count the basket. What's the first thing you holler? Hey ref, this is not the NBA. Well, guess what? That term is in the high school rule book. And the rule book says that if the player with the ball has started their hand or foot motion to try to score, they are allowed to complete that try, even though they be fouled a step and a half before they lay it out. If it's part of the trying motion and they're fouled, to take it one step farther, if their teammate is fouled, if that trying motion has started, that the shooter is allowed to finish their attempt. Now, the antithesis of that is if the offensive team fouls, the ball's dead immediately. Continuous motion only applies to defensive fouls. And it only is applicable when the offensive player has started their trying motion. If they're simply pivoting and they get fouled, the ball is dead. They have to have started the attempt. But it can be one step and a half, and if you feel in your mind that it was an attempt to score and they were fouled during the try, then we're going to count that thing. And then we're going to shoot free throws. Okay? Now, the reason I said the play where the opponent fouls my teammate is because if you think about this, now we've got to have both people in the crew, or at least two if it's a three-person crew, involved in the call, right? Because we got one person watching the shooter. We got another person over here in the corner. We can have somebody in the corner fouled, and the whistle blow, and now if you're officiating that play, you need to come to me and say, hey, have the shooter started their try? Because now if they had, whatever happens, happens. Or if they hadn't, then we simply have got one foul because the ball was dead when that foul occurred. So if we have that situation occur, there's got to be a meeting between the two, or at least two people that are involved. If it's a case of a three-person crew, two people have got to get together. If it's a two-person crew, both people have got together. You can't simply assume from the off official that that basket was good or not. We need to talk. We need to talk about whether the try had started, not whether the attempt was in the air. Now, again, the opposite of that is the foul off the ball was on the team that's shooting. And I don't want to use offensive team because once the ball's released, then there's no offense, no defense. But if the foul over in the corner is on the team that's shooting, now we got to get together to figure out whether the ball was out of the shooter's hands. Because if my teammate fouls before that ball is released, it doesn't matter what the shooter's doing, the ball's dead. And if it's dead, we can't score. So we simply got a foul in the corner against the, quote, offensive team. Everybody see the huge difference there as to why we've got to talk? If it's on the defense, we got two fouls on the defense. All we need to know is, had the shooter started their try? If it's no, then we've got one foul. If it's yes, then that try is allowed to be completed. There may be no foul involved in it, they may just miss the basket. At which point now we only have one foul. But if they have started their try, then they're allowed to finish the try because continuous motion is real. Everybody see that? But if it's on opponents, my guy fouls your guy, and your guy fouls my guy, or I'm just shooting. Now that person needs to know, hey, jury, where was the ball when I blew my whistle? And if I say the ball was still in the shooter's hands, then we simply have a foul over here. If I say the ball was in the air, we might count the basket and still penalize the foul because the ball was away. No matter who the foul's on. Everybody with me? All right. I'm going to remind you all that in 2 weeks. Okay. All right.
Wait a second.
Okay.
So you got a possible continual motion here,
Continuous motion.
and you got a foul in the corner over here
Correct.
on the defense.
If it's on the defense.
It's on the defense.
I know what you said, just hold on a minute. It's on the defense, that's a critical term.
It's on
Gotcha.
the defense.
Right.
And you've got a continual foul on the defense here.
We got a continuous motion play,
Continuous motion
which is,
play.
right.
And you got, I got a whistle out here on number 5
Okay.
on the defense. And my partner's got a whistle in the corner
On number 10,
on number 10. What do I have?
we got 2 fouls.
I got 2 fouls.
Mhm.
So you got, the basket doesn't go in, I got this guy shooting
2,
2
with nobody on the
with
lane.
nobody in the lane.
That's right.
And then, so I'm reporting.
No, well, excuse me, let's back up. We've got, oh, that's right. The only, we need to figure out 2, that's gonna be a bonus. This is gonna be a shooting foul. So we could have 2 fouls reported, but still only shoot the shooting foul. Because let's say that's the second foul, let's say the first foul was on the shooter, that's the first foul of the game. And the foul over there is the second foul.
Okay.
So we don't have a bonus situation.
Okay.
So we would shoot 2 if he misses, or count the basket and shoot 1.
Okay.
And then we give the ball out of bounds over there at the spot closest to the foul to whoever team was fouled, which would be, ironically,
Okay.
me, my team.
Okay.
I might not take it out, but I.
So what if you're on at a bonus, any statute of the bonus, you're at the 7th or the 9th or whatever?
Well, then we never, okay, there's a whole different thing. If we're gonna shoot multiple free throws with multiple free throw shooters, we never have anybody on the lane when the balls will become dead after the last shot. So the first person to shoot would be me. I made the basket, I'm gonna get 1. Everybody off.
3
Boom,
points.
boom, 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 boom.
So you have 3 points at that point.
Okay, yeah, exactly right. I'm gonna shoot my free throw. Whether I make or miss doesn't matter. Because now we're gonna bring everybody in. And let's say it was the 7th, but we shoot 1 and 1. Bring everybody in. Let's say you were my teammate, and you were the one that was pushed. You're gonna be on the line. You're gonna be the first of a 1 and 1, and we're gonna play off the miss.
Okay.
Right. And conversely, if you were my teammate and you had fouled, now we got to figure out whether that ball was in the air over here with me, because if it wasn't in the air, we just got a dead ball, foul on you, it's going to be their ball out of
So one
bounds.
doesn't trump the other, you could be reporting 2 fouls.
Every
and 1
foul call carries its own penalty.
Understood.
Yeah. Great question. Absolutely great question. Wow. I don't mind being tricked, by the way. You
I wasn't trying to.
No,
I
no,
wanted
no.
clarification.
No, I'm telling you.
Okay.
It's a great play.
Okay.
That's why there's a perfect example of another reason why Regis and I need to get together and talk before we adjudicate these penalties. Because if we just go sloppily to this foul line and we start shooting, we could shoot with people lined up for me, which shouldn't happen because we got another guy coming in. Now we got fouls during that period. We're just creating chaos. So we can't have whatever's going to happen until Regis and I get to talk, figure what the heck has happened. What's the sequence? And the thing you need to remember from free throws and fouls is you always shoot fouls in the order that they occur. You never bump one up to make it convenient. It's however they occurred. And that's the order you shoot them in. So, great question. Absolutely.
So you're doing that, you're sending the teams to their benches to make sure.
I might, if it's gonna take longer than we think, I'm gonna make it convenient for me. I'm certainly, to your point, Reagan and I are not gonna have, now, let me make a couple of comments about that. If we know the rules, we should be able to get this straight in about 30 seconds or less. We should not have a 5-minute UN nation meeting in the middle of the floor, and we're trying to figure something out. If we go there, we're just not gonna call whatever we just call. I mean, there's a whole axiom, don't call anything you can't administer, and don't call anything I can't explain. I mean, if you're confused, you start blowing your whistle, and you don't know what the heck you're calling, you're gonna put the crew in jeopardy. Just pass on it. The ball's alive, coaches are gonna coach, teams are gonna play. When you blow your whistle, you're stopping the game. If you stop the game and you don't know what you're doing, and you can't explain it or administrate it, you're in some serious doo-doo. Really, I mean, you can't get out of this. And you're talking about you lose all of your credibility. You will lose credibility by letting them play through fouls that you don't call. But the game goes on when the clock is running. When you stop the game, you better have your stuff straight. But in this case, what we're talking about, going back to my comment, 30 seconds or less, we should solve this. But we need to talk about it to make sure that once we implement it, we don't want the horn blowing saying, hold on, wait a minute, what's going on right there? And then we go, oops, wait, you're right, we shouldn't have done it. And then we look like the dog chased his tail. And you know, we can be bad officials on any night, all of us. But we can't be confused officials. If we're confused, then you never get it back. Because what happens is this, you do something like that, and you don't have the mental strength to throw it out of your head and not let it affect your next 3 calls. Because you're thinking about that screw up. Your blood pressure's gone up, the hair's up on the back of your neck, and all you're thinking about is, did I do that right? Why did I do? Man, that was embarrassing. Time I had to come in, boom, 2 fouls called, and you haven't called either one of them, and there you got a circus on the floor. And believe me, that happens. That happens. So you know, no matter what happens, if you miss calls, you miss calls. You know, you worry about missed calls when you get home, but during the game, you gotta flush the toilet on a missed call. Let it go. You might know it. Everybody might know it. Ray Charles might know it if he's in the stands. Just let it go. Go back to refereeing. Don't worry about it. Okay? You can't do anything about one you caught. Okay? You just can't do anything. Okay. Control. We talked about player control. That's player control of the ball when a player. I'm tired of saying he and she. It gets confusing. When a player is holding or dribbling the ball, there's no player control during a jump ball because nobody's got the ball. If the jumper catches the ball prior to the ball touching the floor, or a non-jumper doing an interrupted dribble, that's a violation. Team control occurs when, 1, a player of the team is in control. So if I'm dribbling the ball, I've got player control, and my team is in team control. That makes sense, doesn't it? Pretty makes sense, okay. So they're both. Now the reason we need to know that is, if we're teammates and you foul, that's a team control foul. But if I foul, that's a player control foul. So we have to understand team control versus player control. But just remember, if I've got the ball, I have player control, my team has team control. Okay? In 2, okay, while a live ball is being passed between teammates, Antonio and I pass the ball back and forth. There's team control. Why do we need to differ between whether that's player or team? Because later on, we're going to find out that we can't request to be granted a timeout unless somebody on our team has physically got player control. So if I've got the ball and I'm dribbling it or holding it, and I've got player control, anybody on my team can call timeout, and if the official grants it, that's fine. But if Antonio and I are passing the ball, then no one's got player control. So if anybody requests a timeout, we just ignore them. Now if Antonio catches it, we can call it. Or if he throws it back to me, and I catch it. Now a player has player control. But if the ball is between 2 players being passed, that's team control. We can't grant a timeout. During an uninterrupted dribble, we talked about what happens if you dribble it off yourself. There's a couple things you need to remember. If there's an interrupted dribble, all counts go away. So if I was counting closely guarded and then there's an interrupted dribble, even though I might get the ball back, a new count starts. There are no counts during an interrupted dribble. Okay? And then when a player, the team has disposal of the ball for a throw-in, that's considered to be team control. So if the old play where we just talked we don't want to do, we set the ball down on the floor. Okay, once that ball's, quote, at the disposal of a player, whether they're physically holding it or it's been put down on the spot because they're not there, they're considered to have the ball in team control, not player control. That's why we got counts and the rest of that stuff, okay? Down the bottom, team control continues until, and this is when it ends. 1, a ball is in flight during a tap or try. Remember I told you once the ball's released on a shot, there's nobody in control? Why is that important? Because that's the only time that you can have fouls on both teams, right? We don't have any team control foul shot. Remember I told you that? Only fouls on the defensive shot. But if we don't have anybody in control, once that ball's released and somebody pushes somebody, if we're in the bonus, we're going to shoot free throws. Because there's no team in control of a released shot. Everybody got that? So you have to remember that, okay? An opponent secures a ball. That makes sense. If A's got it and B gets it, then it's in B's hands. The ball becomes dead. We have a foul, a timeout, a violation, a whistle blows. Okay, not the horn, not the red light on the board. Because on a shot, the ball doesn't become dead until it ceases to have the opportunity to go in. That just says time is run out. Doesn't kill the ball. So the only time that we would have that team control in is if the ball comes dead. 4, while the ball remains alive during a loose ball, always remains in control of the team, we said that, whose player last had control, unless it's a try. If it's a try, we don't have any control. Remember, before a couple of y'all got in here, I reminded you of this play. Billy goes in, dribbles in, he's in the air, he lays the ball up, it passes over the rim, it touches nothing. Billy catches the ball, dribbles out to the corner, turns and shoots, scores a 3. How many think that's legal? How many think it's illegal? How many just flat out don't have any clue? Well, nobody's raising their hand. Look, you can't do that. That's legal. Why is that legal? Because once Billy shot the ball, no one's in control. And it's anybody's ball. And Billy probably isn't going to play very much longer. But Billy can make that play. Nothing says the ball's got to hit the backboard to be a legal try. Nothing says it's got to hit the rim to be a legal try. All it says is Billy got to shoot it. And then the other rule says once Billy shoots it, the ball belongs to anybody, which means it can belong to Billy. So as crazy as that sounds, Billy literally could shoot it and grab it as it misses the rim on the other side and land with it. Because all team possession ended when he released, or she, if it's Catherine, when they released the ball, it doesn't belong to anybody.
If he's anywhere on the court.
Yeah, doesn't matter. No, on a shot. Have to be shooting. Remember, anywhere else on the floor, we just said up there, the ball remains in team control of the team who had it when they were dribbling it or holding it.
So you can shoot an air ball.
Amen.
And then go and catch it and.
Yes, you can.
That's a pass.
Most people call it travel.
Well, it probably would be called a travel, and it wouldn't be a wrong call. Okay.
So even a girl or a boy, middle
Would you
schooler,
say, you better have
underneath
that
the basket,
there.
underneath the
2019,
basket,
don't
two
you say
hand, throw it
that,
up in the air, shuffles their feet, catches it.
Oh,
Does it?
oh. If
It's
they
a
shot
shot
the
tag.
ball, wait a minute, stop. If they have shot the ball,
Yes.
if there's one thing that I remember your sequence and remember that systematized. Is it a shot? If it's not a shot, then we have other stuff that happens. But if the answer to the question is it a shot? Then possession ends with the shot, and if anything that happens is legal. I mean, you can't foul to get the ball, that makes sense, but I mean, it doesn't matter who gets it, where they get it, when they get it, how they get it, doesn't matter. If you rule it a shot. Now, if they fumble it and recover it and then come down, that could potentially be a travel. But that's not the play. You ask if they shot and then they shuffle their feet and then they do, no.
You know what I'm talking
if
about.
they-
Sometimes
if they
they
grab
just
the
throw it in the
rebound
air a
and then,
couple times.
do what?
Sometimes under the basket, you'll get the kids that'll hold it, shoot it, it'll go straight up, come right back down.
Amen?
It's good.
No problem.
That's not a travel, okay.
No. Again, they won't
I
play very
know,
long.
I know, fans aren't
No.
gonna like that one.
No, I'm not being sarcastic, they,
Yeah.
you know, probably won't play very long, but there's nothing wrong with it. Again, if it's a shot,
It looks awkward,
it's gone, it looks crazy.
yeah,
Billy going under the basket and catching the ball before he hits the floor looks crazy.
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. If you call that illegal, Billy's coaches will scream at him. The other coaches will be excited because they get the ball. And no one's gonna know you missed the call. It's just like this. If I'm going in the floor and you pass me the ball, I'm regressing a little bit. But I'm showing you how crazy the rules are. If I'm going in the ball and you pass me the ball, and I fumble it, 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 and I finally get it out, finally dribble it. You know what? You can't travel unless you have possession of the ball. So nothing I've done is illegal. If you let that happen in a game without calling something, they're going to crucify you. But you almost got to miss a call intentionally to make the game right, because you don't have enough time to explain to the coach. Now, as you get to the varsity level, you'll go like this, and the coach will go, yeah, no, I got that, they fumble it. But until they get that ball, it's just like dribbling. You can dribble, you can even dribble up here. If I was 6'8", it doesn't matter, I could dribble the ball high and jump up. If I could jump to the ceiling there at my old age, put my hand on top of the ball and dribble again. Take 4 steps in between each dribble. As long as my hand's on top of the ball and that ball doesn't stop, there's nothing illegal about that dribbling. And guess what? No matter how many steps I take, you can't travel while you're dribbling. It's a rule. So the first thing in your head has got to be, were they dribbling or were they not dribbling? If the answer is they were dribbling, don't you dare call travel. You might call an illegal dribble, but you can't call travel. If you call traveling and you say, yeah, they were dribbling, coach, but they took too many steps. Okay. So there's a lot of little nuances that I'll throw out there to you. Just remember, like I said, you can't travel till you get possession of the ball. You can't travel while you're dribbling. It can't happen. And you know, that's I know as crazy as that sounds, and again, my point is this. If we let Susie fumble this ball all the way out in the hall and we don't go here, blue, no one's going to understand that we just missed that rule. They're only going to misunderstand it if we let Susie run at the door and she's still fumbling the ball. So you wind up knowing that in your head, and you go, okay, we got to make this game right. I'm not going to get in a battle, a verbal battle with a coach who now doesn't understand. Neither coach would understand that. They wouldn't understand. They would be laughing at one another. They'd be talking to one another, laughing at you. As a mockery, you got the call right, they don't know. So, just the way it is. All right, court areas. Team front court consists of the part between it's end line, which is on the end of the line, and the inside line. Then you remember it's on the inside line, that's inbounds, anything on the line. In basketball, unlike volleyball, the line's out. Volleyball line's in. There are other lines in sports, in softball and baseball. The foul line is really a fair line. Because it's got to be foul to be foul. If it hits the line, which is foul, it's fair. Explain that. Well, in basketball, the lines are out. If it's a solid line, you know, like this, where this is completely out of bounds, then it's that inside edge. Once they touch that sucker right there, they're out of bounds. Can't touch anything out of bounds. You can't touch the division line once you're in front court. But the boundary of the division line is the edge of the line that's in your front court, because the line is always back court, the whole line. So when we're talking about that play where the dribbler was dribbling it, and they hadn't gotten all 3 points over the line, that line is still back court. We're not in front court until we clear the line, and that's basically. Disqualified player, that's a player who's been, for whatever reason, barred. Remember, last week you guys that weren't here, there's a sequence that we always follow. if a player has their fifth foul, in order to make it right, we always tell the coach, first, coach, that's 5 on 24. That immediately puts that player on the bench. Now, anything that player does is going to be charged to the head coach. So if the player says that's a horse manure call, and we stick them, it's the coach's responsibility, that's indirectly charged to the head coach. If we simply say to the player, that's 5, and they say it's a horse crap call, and we stick them, they're still a player because they're not a player, they're not disqualified till we tell the coach. So we say, coach, that's 5 on 24, and then there's 20 seconds to replace the disqualified player. So the second thing we do is we start the clock, because we don't want these people playing games where they're running over and getting an extra timeout, where they huddle up and do everything doing it. They got 20 seconds to replace that disqualified player. Horn at 15. So there's always horns at 15 in basketball. 30-second timeout, horn at 15 seconds. Minute timeout, horn at 45 seconds. 20 seconds to replace the player, horn at 15 seconds. So there's always 15 seconds from the start or the end of whatever time we're doing. At that point, 24, that's 5, and there he belongs or she belongs to the coach, and if anything happens, the coach is going to get an indirect technical foul. Okay? Pretty simple.
So if you screw up and you tell the player first,
Okay?
okay, that's 5.
Yep.
Now he wants to.
That's a horse trap call.
Okay.
Which they,
So now he's teed up, but he was out of the game anyhow.
right. That's just a 6th foul.
Okay.
They can get more than 5,
Okay.
but 5 disqualifies them.
But then that just doesn't put that penalty on the coach.
Yeah.
That's basically.
Yeah,
what it
exactly
does.
right. That's the difference. That's why your sequence is always tell the coach first. And then last week, again, for 3 of you weren't here, we want to always change positions. So if you're the one who called that 5th foul and you go onto the table and go, Coach, 24's got 5, start the clock, you report it. At this point, you want to come where I am. And I want to come over here where you are. So now the coach comes up and goes, that's the damnest call I ever said. Yeah, that just sucks. You guys, I'll whack them. And Regis was the person who called the foul on the kid, told the coach. Now the coach calls Aaron, our commissioner, and says, hey, Stone whacked me tonight for no reason. Oh, no, wait, that Stone didn't whack you for no reason. He wasn't even involved in the call that was, Regis got the kid foul on the kid. The kid mouthed off to Regis. He struck the kid, which is 2 fouls, it's indirectly charged to you. Jerry came to the table, he wasn't even involved in the play. He's standing there waiting for you to get a player in 15 seconds. You start running your mouth to him. Coach, you gotta get your facts straight. So, there's an important reason why Regis doesn't try to become the hero. And we have people who want to be the hero. It's like, boom, we got a foul. That's a horse crap call. Boom, we got a foul. Charge it indirectly, the head coach, boom, we got a foul. And go ahead, coach. I'm going to stand here. Because I got the shirt and I got the whistle. And you, come on, bring it to me. Yeah, I'm not taking this off you. Whack, I'm going to get you again. Now I'm personally involved in the play. We can't do that. We can't do that. So we switch. Make sure that if there's a second or third one, it's somebody else. And now that coach is there. It's your fault. You've done what you got to do. The dribble, I've really gone over that. The only thing to remember about the dribble is this. You can start in a lot of ways. You can throw it to the floor, you can push it to the floor, you can pass it to the floor. There have been multiple interpretations of what stops a dribble. Basically, what stops a dribble is if that ball stops moving. We don't care whether you pull it back and it settles in one hand. We don't care whether you try to take it behind your back and it settles with your hand underneath. We don't care if it gets away from you and you go pick it up with 2 hands. If that ball stops, remember, you can't dribble, fumble, and then dribble. But you can fumble and recover it, dribble it, and fumble it again. But if you touch that ball with 2 hands, or the ball stops moving, and you get that a lot of times now with the kids who do that famous crossover where they'll pull that ball back and then they'll go the other way. If they pull that sucker back and that ball stops, boom, illegal dribble. Illegal dribble. Remember, not a travel. We can't travel while we're dribbling. But it's an illegal dribble. So what you're looking for as an official is 24 started a dribble, And now that ball's gotta keep moving. So if it hits a leg and it goes over here, if they go over and continue to move, hey, we got no problem. But if they go over and pick it up and then put it back down, can't do that. Because they started dribbling and it stopped. We don't care if it hit the leg, didn't hit the leg. They started the dribble, and then at some point that ball stopped. The dribble ends when it stops moving. Everybody got that? The play that you'll miss is a play where the kid comes in, catches the ball on the post, goes up to shoot, drops the ball because the kid gets ready to block the shot, comes down and recovers it, and they haven't dribbled. Right? You see that all the time, right? Okay. Well, in a few minutes, I think it's pretty close here. Remember I said there's three things, when we talk about pivot feet, there's three things you can do with the ball. And one of them is dribble. Dribble is pushing, batting, or pulling the ball to the floor. So, in the dribble rule, the rule is I've got to get rid of the ball before my pivot foot leaves the floor. Everything else I can pick my pivot foot up, but I can't put it back down if I pass it. I can pick it up, put it back down, gotta get rid of the ball if I shoot it. But if I go to dribble it, I've got to get rid of the ball before my pivot foot leaves the floor. So if I get ready to go and I go like this, that's an illegal dribble. So in the case of the kid, even though they might have a dribble coming, throw it to me. I go up. Regas is bigger than I am. I get up. I can't do anything. I drop the ball because I can't shoot it. That's a dribble. And guess what? Since I raised my pivot foot off the floor before I started to dribble, there's no difference between me dropping the ball and starting to dribble in the air than it is me pushing the ball to the floor when you throw it to me. So that's a travel because I lifted my pivot foot before I started my dribble. Play's missed a lot. People let that play go. It's crazy. It's illegal. And that's what all that says. You can read that. You don't need me. You don't need me to read it to you. Okay. Let's take a couple of minutes to take a break here. Get some water. Go around the side. It's 8 o'clock. Let's take about 2 minutes. When you dunk the ball, it's got to be a live ball. Now that doesn't mean that you might not have a foul and a guy or girl come down the court and dunk one right after it. But what that means is you can't dunk during pregame warm-ups. You can't dunk at halftime. You can't have one of these showboats, go the length of the floor after you've called a foul and dunk the ball. If you do that, that's a technical foul. But it's got to be forced to be considered a dunk. That's all it's saying. Nothing else needs to be said about it. Extra period, that's an extension of the fourth period. Remember, it's used to break a tie. Normally, it's half of the period length for an overtime. So, in high school, 99 times out of 100 is 4-minute overtime periods. If it's a 6-minute period, Chesterfield Middle Schools, a lot of them, I think, play 6 minutes. Maybe some of the Henrico, I think. But whatever the case is, if it's 6-minute periods, then you do 3-minute overtimes. And overtime is always an extension of the fourth period. You always throw the ball up to start each and every overtime period. Okay? And, the arrow is reset after that jump ball each overtime period versus the first 4 periods where the arrow is set on the first possession of the game and then just continues until the game ends. Fighting, it's a flagrant act, but it doesn't have to be contact. You can read that for yourself. Basically says if I swing, kick, spit, curse, anything I do to you that can incite you to the point of fighting me, we're both going to get ejected. I don't have to swing and miss or try to kick and miss and then you hit me and you're gone and I'm not. The thing to remember about fighting is any fighting foul is termed, quote, a flagrant foul. Anytime, there's a bunch of terms that you can apply to fouls. Common fouls, player control fouls, personal fouls, technical fouls, intentional fouls, all those kind of fouls that we'll talk about at some point. But the thing to remember is this: if you use the term flagrant, somebody's gone. So be careful how you use that term. I like to use the analogy, we're like police officers. A good police officer will use, if they get somebody going 85, They could write them for careless and reckless, and they could write them for a bunch of stuff, but maybe they'll drop it to 65 and only get them for 15 miles over the speed limit or something. I don't know what they do, I've never been a police officer, but I know police officers do that because I watch live TV on Saturday night. Okay? And I see them do it all the time. But in our case, we have a multiplicity of fouls that we can use. So, like if it was rough play, we might think, well, look, I can call that intentional, I can call that technical, but I may not want to call it flagrant. I just want to get it in your head. You can't make a mistake and say flagrant and then take it back. And if you say flagrant, somebody's ejected. At least one person's gone. Again, which means they can't play in the next game if they're ejected twice. They can't play in 2 games. If they're ejected 3 times in the season, they're gone for the year. Okay, and there's a fine involved by the Virginia High School League, and there's reports you got to write up. I'm not telling you not to eject players. I'm just telling you, you can call, like, for instance, when we talk about swinging the elbows. Excessively swinging the elbows is a violation, okay? But if you hit somebody with an elbow, you can call that player control, because they've got the ball right, and they fouled, okay, made contact. Or if they really hit somebody and they do a couple $1,000 worth of dental work, that could be a flagrant personal, which means they're gone, okay? But you've got options there. You've got swinging the elbows with no contact, violation, always. If you feel like that they're doing excessively, then you've got swinging the elbows excessively where there's maybe some contact, which can be a player control foul, so you up the penalty. They don't just lose the ball, they also lose the ball and get a foul, and then boom, 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 boom. Somebody's head hunting, you might have a boom. That's a intentional personal or flagrant personal, and somebody's gone. Just be careful. Though, don't do that without getting together and talking with your crew and making sure that you don't just pop off and use the term flagrant, because once you say that, you're in a corner and somebody's gone. You can't say, well, we decided it's not flagrant. No, it's flagrant. Okay? We're going to skip the foul section because I could take all night on that, and I'm not. We're going to go over to the next page on 34 and go over free throws. That's an opportunity for a free throw. Okay? The thing about the free throws you got to remember very quickly is this. Once you put the ball at the disposal of the free thrower, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Once you put the ball at the disposal of the free thrower, that means I either set it down on the line, which you never want to do. Remember we said that, we decided that. Okay, by rule, it's a test question, you need to know that. Once we have the ball in the thrower's hands, it's, quote, at their disposal. Okay, before that, if this is A shooting, I'm trying to do this so everybody can see. All right. This is A shooting, this is the basket. This space under, which used to be legal, is nothing. We can't be there anymore. This has always got to be B, always. There's no choices. B's got to be down there. It's getting a little bit away from this rule, but we might as well talk about free throws moving. This is, remember I told you last week, anytime we line up shoulder to shoulder, what are the options? Alternate, right?
Yeah.
So we don't care. My system is, if we got to play where we got shoulder to shoulder, on the circle, on the free throw line, on a throw in, on an out of bounds throw, if the team wants to line up shoulder to shoulder, or the rule requires it, we alternate by choice. So perfectly, that would be awful A, but it would be B, A, I'm sorry. Well, let's do this, that'd be easily good. I was right to begin with. That's what screwed me up. B's on the bottom, A's in the middle, B's up the top. So we got 4 defensive players and 2 offensive players. The only 2 spaces we need to have occupied by rule are these 2. So if A doesn't want to be here, these 2 B players could drop down here. Nothing wrong with that. We got 40-year veterans that don't think that's a rule. Okay? They may do that for the first free throw, and then all of a sudden, the coach sends them in to get in there. If they want to get in, they get those spots. We get to alternate. Okay? But those 2 have to be there. There's no reason for these 2 players not to be on the bottom because it's a delay of game, and then the second time they do it, it's a technical foul. Again, No reason. I've never seen anybody. The only reason that that happens is the lead will put the ball in the shooter's hands too quick, especially at youth games, being middle school, JV. Give them time. Remember I told you, if you let these people line up wrong, that's your fault. If you got A players down here, that you, bad on you, because you didn't look before you administered the free throw. Can't bounce the ball to the shooter till you make sure at least if A is here, this is B, and this is B. Okay? If anybody walks in, walks out, walks across before the ball's in the shooter's hands, we just reset. We went over that. It's not at their disposal till they have it on the floor or physically have it. So you just tell them, hey, we got to get set here, come on. Y'all killing me. Okay? Smile when you say that. We're not out there to be a bunch of hard butts. Okay? We're dealing with kids. We're dealing with kids and we're role models. So just remember that. Okay? Pretty simple, that. Hold on, let me think my page turned. I apologize. Where are we on page what? 34. Okay, I got you. Okay. The free throw starts when the ball is put into the disposal of the free thrower. We said that. That means either they're holding it or we put it on the ground, on the floor. We don't put it on the floor. It ends, okay, when the try is successful. That means it goes in. The try is unsuccessful. That means it's not going in. Or when it touches the floor. Okay, I'm gonna pull a name out from the archives of basketball because you need to know this. There used to be a guy that played in West Virginia named Rod Hummel, Hot Rod Hummel. He shoot hook shots from the foul line. Played for I was a referee. But back then, he would take the ball and bounce it. He was like Pete Maravich. If you ever heard of Pete Maravich? He would bounce the ball and in the basket. That was a free throw. He could do it. Now, we can't do that. If the ball hits the floor, free throw's in. So if you get a kid up there that goes, okay, I'm going to bounce it in. Once that ball hits the floor, that's the shot. Whatever happens after that, the shot ended when that ball hit the floor. Can't do anything, wise like that. You have to shoot it. But, again, well, when some of you guys have refereed, the old rule used to be that it hit the backboard of the rim to be legal. Right? Got to shoot it, it's got to hit the backboard of the rim. Now it's got to hit the rim. If you miss the rim, the try's over. That's a violation on the shooter. The ball must hit the rim. Now, the people on the lane can go in when the ball leaves the shooter's hands. But the ball still got to hit the rim to be a legal try. If it doesn't hit the rim, it's a violation on the shooter. So you might say, how about this one, Jerry? The defense goes in the lane too soon, so we got delayed dead ball, right? That's the old, I'm shooting, you go in the lane. If I make it, we ignore that, but if I don't make it, I get another one, right? Because you went in the lane. If that happens and I don't hit the rim, that's one of the few times we can have a double violation. And we go to the arrow. Because you going in, unless you want to term that something crazy, you didn't interfere with my missing the rim. I'm just a bad shooter. So I've got to, if I miss the rim, okay, the free throw ends when the ball misses the rim. And that's a violation on the shooter, period.
Mr. Gary,
Yeah.
I thought the ball had to hit the rim before they moved. Did they change that?
No, well, I'm not sure there. Give me the play.
Well, last year's coach, it was that the ball had to hit the rim first before they moved into the lane.
Okay, well, it's not that true now. Only the people, all right, I'll just draw the spaces. B, B, A, B, A, B, A. Boom, boom, sideline to sideline. These 6 people, the only 6 people can be inside of that line from one side of the court to the other. There's one sideline, there's one sideline. Coach wants to talk to somebody, he's got to have them back here. He can't be in here. If you're not on the lane, you can't be inside that line. So you move them back. They can be back here talking. They can be anywhere they want to be as long as they're not inside that line, inside the circle. So they can be standing right behind the shooter right there. They can be up here next to that line extended. these 6 people. When the shooter releases the ball, time it leaves the shooter's hands, these people can go. Now, here's what the rule says to protect the shooter. We no longer have the play. Well, the coach used to teach you, okay, this person's going to block the shooter out. Because the shooter and all of these people out here, beyond that line, not in here, everybody else on the floor and the shooter have to wait for the ball to hit the rim. Hit the rim. Again, if this is the rim, got a violation, the ball is dead. Which means this B player, as the ball goes from here to the basket, the B player can't back that shooter out. Because the only place the B player can go is in the lane by rule. But we can have a foul. It could even be an intentional foul if it's rough enough. Like somebody goes up and just sticks their butt in the guy's or girl's growing. So, but that's not going to be. We're going to have a foul. But the key is, B can't go in this space. Nobody out here can go in this space. The shooter can't break this lane line until the ball touches the rim. B can go in the lane, A can go in the lane, B can go in the lane. Nobody else can go anywhere. They can't take off and run when it goes up. If there's a bunch of short people in there, they know they're going to get the rebound. The only thing they can do is just stay in their spots. So we got 6 potential players that could go on the release. A's got to wait for the ball to hit the rim. Everybody else has got to wait for the ball to hit the rim. If the ball didn't hit the rim, it's a violation on A. If B goes in, it's a delay because we got to wait to see where the shot goes. If it goes, we ignore that. If it doesn't go, we get a substitute free throw. If A goes in, the ball's dead immediately because that's a shooting team. They've gone in before the ball was released. They can't step back. So you'll see the official, again, throwing stuff off the wall. You'll see one of these officials put their arm out and drop it. And what that means to everybody is, hey, I saw the violation, but it was on the defense. We'll wait to see what happens with the shot. If the shot goes, there is no violation. There's a term, wait a minute, one other thing. There's a term, disconcertion. And that means if this player right here starts doing jumping jacks, screaming at this player, somebody's family, we could rule that this person is disconcerted and just keep shooting free throws until they make them. And if they did it twice, 3 times, then it becomes a sportsmanship issue. Then we can start whacking people with unsportsmanlike technical fouls. Don't call disconcertion. You'll see the kids put their hands up late. You just walk in on the second free throw and say, hey, anybody go put their hands up, have them up before the shooter gets the ball. And if they continue to do it, you feel like that, this person's leaning over and, hey, I was with your girlfriend last night. If any of that thing happens, you could get them for disconcertion. It's in the rule book. Never seen it called. Never seen it called. One thing we call violations here. Remember, if a violation is by the defensive team, we got the delayed dead ball. On the offensive team, we got the immediate dead ball. Nobody outside these lane spaces can be inside of that line from sideline to sideline until the ball hits the rim. Shooter can't break the plane of that ball, that line, the free throw lane, the free throw line until the ball hits the rim. And the people in the spaces can break the lane line when the ball is released by the shooter. And conversely, the person in the closest spot to the shooter can only go in the lane. They cannot go in the shooter's space until the ball hits the rim.
All right. You gave a scenario, and I know this is going to happen in the first middle school game I do, just because it was brought up and now I'm thinking about it. Shooter has the ball, in possession of the ball. A is the shooter, B is in the lane. They step into the lane while the player's in possession of the ball. Shooter A misses everything. That's not a double, right?
We're going to
Because it
always
distracted the
penalize, we're
shooter.
going to penalize the first violation,
Got you. Okay.
which is whichever one stepped in.
Gotcha.
If the defense will let them reshoot. The one thing I did talk about though is, and I thought you would bring this up. You see this sometimes. Kid goes to dribble and dribbles off that foot. Goes kind of lane. By rule, that's a violation. Please don't call that. Just blow your whistle, stop it. Bounce the ball more gently to the kid. Ask him, please don't drop this ball again. If they keep dribbling off that foot, at some point you gotta say, hey, we can't do that. But it'll only happen once. But again, don't put yourself in, we're at that for the kids, we don't try to create stuff that we have to, you know, go crazy over. You just, but in that case, if they step in together, we can have a double violation. But if the second one steps in after the first one's gone, we have multiple, then we charge the first one with the violation, we don't mess with the rest of them. So follow the leader, okay? Remember, if B doesn't occupy that, that's a delay. And they can't do it but once without getting a technical foul. Let's say we have a timeout with a free throw foul and a timeout. Okay? And let's say that neither team is coming out. And we put the ball down, which we don't want to do. This could be a test question. How do we handle that? First of all, once the ball's at the disposal, they violated because there's a delay. Okay. Secondly, the shooter's not there to take possession of the ball. B can't call a timeout to keep from violating. A is the only team that can call a timeout to keep from violating. So the team that has the ball at their possession is the same as if we had handed the ball to the shooter. And once the team has possession of the ball, team control, they are in charge of timeout requests. Whether it's out of bounds, inbounds, whatever the deal is, once we put the team possession in effect, and A has got it, whether an A player is standing there holding it, or whether we put it at their disposal, it doesn't, same way out of bounds. Same way out of bounds. They're in the huddle. And both of them are late getting out. We put it on the floor, and we're counting. The only team that can stop this process is a team that has the ball out of bounds. Because when we put it down, it's the same as me handing you the ball. The ball is at that player's disposal. And at their disposals is defined by either in their hands or on the floor. Everybody cool with that? Just remember that.
So what's the question? You said it's the
Well,
test question.
The test question would be, A is not lined up underneath, or B is lined up underneath, A is not on the free throw lane, and B requests a timeout. They can't do
Call a
it.
timeout if the ball's not.
Yeah, it's just once the ball's at your disposal, whether it's on the floor or in your hands, your team is in control of those timeouts. Nobody else can do anything about it. Everybody cool with that? Okay, we're good. A fumble, we talked about that. Just remember, we can always recover a fumble. There's been people for hundreds of years that have tried to dream up ways where you can fumble the ball and can't recover it. You can always recover a fumble. But what you might not be able to do is dribble it again, depending on how you recover it. If you pick it up with two hands, the ball stops. If you started a dribble, you've ended the dribble, now you can't dribble. So just remember, you can fumble, dribble, fumble, but you can't dribble, fumble, dribble. Okay? Just remember that. And a fumble can always be recovered. Always. Always. You just might not be able to do anything when you get it. Goaltending, we talked about. Guarding, we've talked about. Biggest thing on guarding is in Article 2. To obtain an initial legal guarding position. Remember that legal term. Just get that in your head. Make that ingrained, part of the process. I love to use the word systematized. The guard must have both feet touching the playing court. That's inbounds. The front of the guard's torso, chest, must be facing their opponent. If they get to that position at their spot on the floor, that towel belongs to them. Remember, these towels belong to both teams. So we got to get that legal. So if the defender, again, getting back to refereeing the defense, if the defense is legal, that's the defense's towel. If the defense is illegal, then the towel still belongs to the offense if they get there first. So we just got to get it in our head to always referee that defender and know what that defender's doing. Okay? Down at the bottom, guard an opponent with the ball or stationary opponent without the ball. Talking about, I think this is talking about screaming, time and distance of retire. Well, that's the same thing. I talked about all that. Okay? In 24, on page 35, it's legal to extend arms and vertically. Vertically. I can't do it. My whole body won't do it. It's impossible to get your arms. It's anatomically impossible. But this is vertical. This is not vertical, and that's what that rule talks about. If a defender's got their hands like this and an offensive player goes up through them, that's a foul on the defender. That's not verticality. Verticality is here. What verticality is again, going back to my spot, this tile belongs to me. It belongs to me all the way to the ceiling. If I'm legal, you as an offensive player can't displace me or any part of my body. This is my spot. I got my arms up. You come flying into me, 9 times out of 10, if the offensive player comes in and goes up and there's a chest bump, we call a foul on the defender. If that defender is legal, which means vertical, from the floor to the ceiling, that's not a foul. It may be nothing. I'm not saying it is a foul. What I'm saying is, it's not a foul on the defender. However, defenders are smart. They'll get their hands up, and the guy will go up to shoot a girl, and they'll hit her. And then they'll walk around like this when you call a foul. Like, I'm vertical. Little Lane, one of the all-time greats. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to clap, but we're in class. So we're vertical, okay? So, but this isn't vertical. That's displacing the offensive player. So that's a push. Okay, so you got a boom, you got a foul, boom. Okay? If my hands are here when they start and I drop them and they go through them, that's foul, because this isn't vertical. I've changed my position on the floor. Where if I'm like this and the shooter goes up and goes through my arm, it may be a foul, it may be a play control foul. It also may be nothing. I would suggest it be nothing, because the player certainly is not put at a disadvantage when they cause contact. You will hear me say several times as we get into this class, we call far too many and ones. A foul, the purpose of a foul is to cause one team to be put at disadvantage by misusing a rule. Contact is not a foul. Illegal contact is a foul. The book even says 10 players moving in a small confined area will make contact, often unintentionally, and there's no advantage or disadvantage gained. It's when an advantage is a gain that we have to call a foul on somebody. So if there's contact, the simple fact that the shooter comes running in and on their jump shot goes into the defender, if they miss a shot, they just miss a shot. Or if two people come in and one's on defense and one's on offense, and the one on offense lays the ball up and in and two bodies hit at the hip and they both separate. Why are we calling them an and one? They made the basket. If they missed the basket, we'll give them 2. So just get it in your head that you have to see that contact. There's got to be a purpose in the contact, and it should be putting people at disadvantages. And if it doesn't, it's not always there. In Article 2, it's legal to use hands to reach or block or slap the ball controlled by a dribble. Do not ever let this go, and don't explain to a coach this last sentence. Or if a player is throwing for a goal, or a player is holding it and accidentally hits the hand of the opponent when the opponent's hand is holding the ball, that's not a foul. It is a foul if you call it a foul. We can't be telling people they can hit them and it's an oops. Okay? So if they slapping hands and arms, it's causing people lose the ball, it's a foul. In Article 3, it's legal to hold hands and arms in front of the face of body. We said that. You can protect yourself. You do not need to get hurt out there. You can cover up on screens. You can put them up here. You can extend your arms out. You can't extend your arms out from your hips. That's changing your position. That's not a legal guarding position. A legal guarding position is basically 3 feet of your feet 3 feet apart, hands inside your elbows, not like this. You will see kids set screens with their arms out, and then they will be moving down the floor. And the defensive players running right beside them. And they'll run almost 80 feet. And everybody in the world is screaming, that's an illegal screen. We can't have an illegal screen for this contact. So in order to make this person illegal, somebody's got to run through that arm. Then it becomes holding. But if the player isn't smart enough to cause contact, and they run around this, that might be bad defense, but it's also stupid offense. So we don't penalize stupid. It's not our job. So if we don't have contact, other than verbal technical fouls, that's we don't have anything. So don't be calling an illegal screen or holding when there isn't any contact. 7, it's not illegal to use a hand arm or forearm to prevent an opponent, I got a note down here, this is the offensive player, from attacking the ball on the dribble. So, we say to the defensive player, you can't be reaching in and slapping the arm of the player dribbling the ball. That's going to be a foul. Conversely, we say to the offensive player, if I'm dribbling the ball, I can't hold my arm out here so you can't get to the ball. Arm's got to be in here. I can keep it here. I've got a right to protect the ball. I don't have a right to fend you off and protect the ball. So if I'm dribbling the ball and I do that to you, it's boom, 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 white 24, player control foul, blue. Okay? You just can't do that. Remember our role, again, I go over our role, to make sure Team A doesn't gain an advantage over Team B by misusing the rule. That's the only reason we got a striped shirt and a whistle. That's why we're out there. If we do a good job of that, everything's cool. The aggressiveness in the bottom sentence, with what your arms and elbows are swung, could cause injury to the other player of contact, and we talked about that. Using this description as a basis, an official will promptly and unhesitatingly rule such action with the arms and elbows a violation. It is not, it is not legal to lock arms. We know that. You can't lock arms. Going back to the first sentence, we just can't let people, if they start swinging those elbows and you don't feel, a good rule of thumb is this: if the kid's moving their feet, there's nothing illegal about that because the arms are moving as part of the body. If the feet aren't moving and they move those elbows, take that ball. Violation, illegal swing the elbow. Do not, because what's going to happen is this person's going to do this. Then we'll go to the other end and somebody's going to do this. Then we'll go to this end and pop. It's going to happen 3 times. The coach is going to say, hey, you got to call that at both ends. So you send a message the first time. Send a message the first time. Not tonight. You're not going to do that. Take the ball. Doesn't hurt. Not a foul. Violation. But a good rule of thumb to make that call is what's happening with the player's feet. If they're moving their feet, their elbows are moving as part of their body. If they aren't moving their feet, they're protecting that ball illegally and they can't do that. Okay? A held ball, opponents have their hands on the ball so firmly that control can't be obtained. You normally see this probably for whatever reason a lot more in ladies' games. There are lots of held balls. Don't know why, but there are. Normally it happens when a team doesn't execute pivots very well, so they're not pivoting away from the defender. But the key is, if you're going to rule a held ball, always err on the side of safety. Don't let kids try to get locked up with the ball and be throwing each other around, and all of a sudden you come in and blow your whistle late. We got somebody chesting up to somebody. You know, it's better to call a held ball too quickly than it is to call it too late. Because a held ball is ruled by the arrow. You're not cheating anybody. If you call 2 of them, each team's going to get the ball once. It's not like you're being the judge and the jury. All you're doing is saying, look, we just got to stop this right here. If somebody's on the floor, the play we miss often is allowing other people to jump on them and get the held ball. And that shouldn't happen. If somebody's on the floor and somebody dives to the floor and doesn't dive on the player, that's one thing. If they dive on the player and then we call held ball, we've allowed that player to foul them. They're in a defenseless position on the floor. We let some other player dive on them and grab the ball, and now we're calling it held ball. Shouldn't do that. Okay? So just remember that. If I'm going up to shoot, by rule, test question, by rule, if I'm going up to shoot, you put your hand on the ball and force me down, held ball. Okay? Held ball. You should remember that. I have forced you to the floor when you've attempted to go up. If I go up, by rule, test question, and you put your hand on the ball, force me to come down, but before I get to the floor, you take your hand off, it's travel. However, in this board, we call held ball on both. Because what happens is this. We throw that play out there and it's missed half the time. So we just say if that player goes up and the defender forces them to come down, we don't worry about whether the ball's in their hands. We don't worry about whether it's in their possession. We don't split halves. If that happens, we got held ball. That way we're consistent every freaking time. We're consistent. We don't have the ball, well, it almost came loose, it did come loose, it came up, it went down, it was jostled, no, it wasn't jostled, player forced them, well, it didn't almost force, no, it's held ball. If somebody goes up and the defender has some part in making them come down, and this year, by the way, there's the emphasis that you have to stop the clock on every play. Before, they would have said, this is a foul, this is a violation, and this is perfect violation to stop the clock and go here. But as you get experience, it's foul, violation, or jump ball. Now we're supposed to stop the clock on every play, and if it's jump ball, you indicate jump ball. So on that play, if a player went up, boom, popped it down, we go, boom, jump ball. You watch the players that you have. I'll check the arrow, and when you look up, I should be standing here like this or standing here like this. Don't take your eyes off your players involved in the play to check the arrow, because somebody's going to pop somebody or say something to them. You're not going to see the play. We got a problem. You handle your players, and I will, as the off official, I'll check the arrow, and I'll be standing here just like this. When you look up, you look at me, I got the call for you. Vice versa, you need to have the call. And you'll go over that in the pregame. Kicking has to be an intentional act. You can realistically have the ball thrown off your leg and it'd be legal. Unlike when most of us played, including you, it used to be from the knee down, now it's any part of the leg. So if there's an intent, and it has to be intentional, we missed that call. The fact that somebody passes the ball off of somebody's leg, or the ball is loose and it hits somebody's leg, isn't a kick. A kick is intentionally kicking the ball. So it has to be intentional. If it's not intentional, it's play on. Okay? Any part of the leg. Hip down. Multiple throws, we talked about that. That's 1 and 1 and 2. Pass is moving it from one player to the other. We talked about that. We won't talk about a pivot foot. I'm going to take just a second to talk about pivot feet, because we'll eventually get to what a jump stop is and it's legal. Okay, let's say I'm in the air and I land on both feet simultaneously with the ball. Somebody over here throws me the ball, I jump, I catch it, I come down. Okay, whichever foot I lift up first, my other foot is the pivot foot. I can lift up this one, or if I lift up this one, I can't obviously lift up both. Okay, let's say I lift this one. This foot's now my pivot foot. Why is that important? Because remember, there's 3 things I can do with the ball: pass it, shoot it, dribble it. On 2 of those, shooting it and passing it, I can pivot, then I can step, and as long as I get rid of the ball before my foot comes down on a shot or a pass, I'm okay. That's why these big centers can do this. That's why. And it looks like a travel, and it's not. Because they pivoted, they pivoted, they pivoted, they stepped, and the ball's gone before the foot hits the floor. So on a pass or shot, I'm going to pass it to you, and it hangs up. As long as I get rid of the ball before my pivot foot returns to the floor, no problem. But on a dribble, remember, if I start to dribble that sucker, the ball's got to be out of my hand before my pivot foot moves. If it's not, it's an illegal dribble or travel, either one you call. Just got to, okay. So that's me. I'm in the air, throw me the ball, both feet. If I were to land right foot first and then left foot, my right foot is immediately my pivot foot. First foot to hit the floor. Everybody with that? So now I'm locked in. If I move, I can only move my left foot because I caught the ball, landed on my right foot, followed by my left foot. And it doesn't have to be a big disparity. It can be that close or that close. Doesn't matter. First one. Okay. Everybody cool with that? Which means if that's easy. Same rule. If I'm coming in to shoot, this is the crazy one. Jump stop. And it looks crazy, but it's legal. So I'm coming in to shoot. I plant my right foot. I go up with my left foot. And all the rule says is before this foot hits the floor, court, I gotta let go of the ball, right? But I'm coming in and somebody passes me the ball and I catch the ball on my right foot. And if I stop right there, then I've got a pivot foot, right? We talked about that. But I don't. I catch the ball and I leave off of this foot and I land on both feet. Okay, so I've jumped and I've stopped. If I do that, I have no pivot foot. So if I pivot, it doesn't matter which foot. Boom, boom, boom. But I can jump. I just can't come down until I get rid of the ball. Or I can lift my foot to pass or shoot, like I said, but I can't pivot. So I can't pivot to shoot. If I pivot to shoot, but I lift it and shoot, I'm okay. So the jump stop is landing on one foot, taking off of that foot and landing simultaneously on both feet. And if I do that, that's a legal play because I've caught the ball, landed on one foot, jumped, and landed. And at that point, I have no pivot foot. If I pivot, I have violated. You got to see that whole play because it looks crazy. A kid will take off at the foul line, they'll wind up almost at the basket. And they'll be called for travel every time. Every time. Every time. And no one's going to say a word to you. But that basically is the play. You'll see it. Any questions? Remember, both feet on the court at the same time. Receive the ball. Either foot's a pivot foot. One foot on the floor, one foot off the floor. Receive the ball. Foot on the floor is your pivot foot. Can't change pivot feet. On the offensive player, this is what you see. Okay, you will see the offensive players now. This is the move that is a travel and isn't called. They will be dribbling the ball, okay, and they will do this. And this is the foot everybody's looking at. When this is the key foot, because this is a step and jab, but that's the way they're going. It's got to be travel. Okay? You have to watch that. So, just like that little rule that we said, if you're refereeing two players, we want to referee the defenders. If you're refereeing the player with the ball, your first focus should be pivot foot. So, everyone in here, if Jerry were to take a ball and throw me the ball, your first look should be straight down. So in your system, you're saying right foot's a pivot foot. And then you move up the player. Now you worry about fouls. But where you're going to get killed is if you don't know what foot's a pivot foot and they go shuffling those feet around and the coaches are going nuts and you don't know what they've got. Or even worse, you call something that isn't a travel. Throwing something off the wall, it's always best to call something, to not call something that's there than to call something that isn't. Because remember I told you the clock's running, coaches coach, players play. Calling stuff that's not calling stuff that happens to all of us. But what you can't do is you can't be calling stuff that doesn't happen. It'll kill you. Kill your reputation, nobody will want you. Okay, you don't want to miss a bunch of calls, that makes sense, nobody wants to do that. But you also don't want to be making mystery calls that you can't explain. You just don't want to do that, okay? Incidental contact, we talked about, by the way, I didn't make any comments about that, but remember, we can have contact, not a foul. We talked about the pivot, players, bench personnel, all that stuff we've really gone over. The players, 1 of 5 team members who are legally. The one thing you want to point out there is, if it's during an intermission, everybody is bench personnel. Which means what? Who's responsible for them? The coach. So if they're coming into the locker room, coming out of the locker room, if you're going into your locker room, one of them calls you an SOB, that's charged to the player. It's also indirectly charged to the head coach. If we got an in-between periods, even though there are 5 players on the book that are going to start the next period, at the intermission, they're all bench personnel. So if one of them starts mouthing off to you or doing something, that's indirectly charged to the head coach. Because the coach is always in charge of their bench personnel. Bench personnel includes everybody that's on that bench. Trainers, doctors, principals, coaches, assistant coaches, disqualified players, players that are able to go in and out, substitutes, anybody that's on that bench. And anybody that's on that bench is supervised by the head coach. So it doesn't matter whether it's an adult or not. If they do anything, if the trainer gets up and gives you the choke sign and you see it, and you stick the trainer, that's indirectly charged to the head coach. You can't use the coach's box anymore. You know, that's just the way it is, and it's an issue between the trainer and the head coach. A substitute becomes a player when they legally enter the court. If the entry, this is an important statement, if the entry is not legal, that substitute becomes legal when the ball becomes live. Remember last week we talked about the substitute comes in and doesn't report? They just run by the table. They don't report. And we don't check the number of players on the floor. We're in a hurry to get out of that. It's a lousy game. We hand the ball to the thrower in, and the horn blows, and the scorekeeper says, hey, ref, 20 didn't report it. Well, once we made that ball live, 20's legal. The only thing will be illegal if we have 6 players on the floor. 20 didn't come in for 22. Now we have a problem. But the substitute, who has to report to be legal, and the 3 guys, the ladies that came in this week, remember, officials, we beckon people in, they don't come in, the horn blows, that's telling us something's going on. They don't just get up and run in. Number one, if we're reporting, we don't ever let them come in while we don't go like this. We just say, stop, blue 24, holes, white ball out of bounds, come in subs. We could have multiple free throws where they're not supposed to come in. So the horn is telling us that there's something needs to be taken care of. Doesn't tell them it's okay for them to go in. And if they get to running on you, you just send their little rear ends right on back and say, go back. And wait. Okay, go back and wait. Or if the coach is trying to run them in, like you're trying to start the game, and then, no coach, get your subs up to the table in time, I'll get them in the game, otherwise we're not going to play games. Okay? Player location, we talked about, inbounds, out of bounds, all of that. I'm going to get to the bottom of 38 here, and we're going to be through. A point of interruption, that means where we stopped the game, we resume play. If the inadvertent whistle, if we blow the whistle in the game, and we shouldn't have, called an inadvertent whistle. And there's a rule that helps us out. Okay, the inadvertent whistle says if we blow it and we stop the game, whatever's going on, like if there's a shot, the shot continues till he goes or doesn't go. If it's not a shot, we just stop the game. It would be like me going over right now and talking and cutting the lights out. You couldn't see me, but you could hear me. Okay, so think of the inadvertent whistle like cutting the lights out. If we blow our whistle and we go, why did I do that? Nothing happened. We just give the ball back to the team that had it. We start the game over. We'll have to take a little stuff from the coach, but hey, there's a rule, coach. Inadvertent whistle, my bad, white ball right here. If there's a shot and we blow our whistle and we shouldn't have, if the shot goes in, we count it. And we just take the ball out and give it to the other team, let them run like the game had a shot there. If it's missed, because it's missed, and when possession ends with the shot, right? And it's missed, and we blow the whistle. So we basically kill the play once the shot ceases to go in, right? We stop the game, but then we got a shot in the air, we got to find out what's going to happen. If it goes in, it goes in. It's good. But if it doesn't go in, now we're in a pickle. Because we stopped everybody and the shooter didn't make the shot. How do we get out of that? Arrow. Possession arrow. Because nobody had possession. What the arrow's for? We've got to protect them behind us. It's called a possession arrow. It's not a cool play. You You feel a little edgy when you do it, but it's there for you. And it's fair. It's fair because no one had possession of the shot once it was released. So we can't give the ball to A or B. If A makes the basket, it makes sense. A should get the basket. The fact that I blew the whistle shouldn't keep A from scoring if the ball was in the air. But if it's in the air and I stop the game and the shot doesn't go, then we just go to the arrow. Whoever the arrow's pointed to, we're going to walk them to the spot closest to the play and move on. Okay? Pretty simple play right there. And that's what that's about. We don't need rebounding, resumption of play procedure. Excuse me, anytime there's a timeout on intermission after the original setting of the arrow, that's what's called a resumption of play procedure. That means, let's just say Jerry and Leonard and I are working together, and I've got the ball. The person with the ball, whether it's a 2 or 3 person crew, always stands basically in the area of where the ball's going to be put into play. If you're at the bench, don't put yourself in the middle of the huddle, but move directly out on the floor so that you're in the proximity. There's a couple reasons for that. The main reason is coach looks out and wants to know where that ball's going to be put in play. I don't need to be Danny on the end standing there and he's trying to set up a play or she's trying to set up a play and they only have one timeout left and they come back and I put the ball in play somewhere where it shouldn't be or where they didn't think it was going to be. So if I've got the ball, 2 person, I'm standing where the throw-ins will be, and depending on whether it's a 30 or 60, Leonard may be halfway to the basket to the table between the circle and the table, or all the way back. We'll see that when you go through the mechanics book. If it's a 3-person crew, I got the ball, I'm at spot closest. Leonard's got one team, Jerry's got another. 45 seconds, if it's let's say it's a minute timeout at 45, horn blows. Jerry and Leonard will go in, hit their whistle, beep, first horn, guys, let's go. That's all they say. Don't go in the huddle, make friends with everybody. That's where you want to go. I see officials all the time. They want to go in there and talk to coaches. Why you want to do that, I don't know. They're not our friends. They're not our enemies, they're just not our friends. So walk in, hit the whistle. They go to where they're supposed to be. I've got the ball. Now the resumption of procedure process starts. Teams are coming out. I've got the ball. There's been a delay. Anytime there's been a noticeable delay, I'll take the whistle, tweet, and then I hand the ball to the thrower in. If the team doesn't come, the resumption of play process would be we put the ball down, something we don't want to do, but the key is the resumption of play process starts with me putting the ball at the disposal of the team. Whether I put it on the floor or hand it to somebody. And before we put it there, we always blow the whistle away from the player, because these things are loud. So we blow it away from the player, and the whistle means I'm about to put that ball in play. That's the international sign for we're ready to put the ball in play and play on. I don't holler, everybody ready? Conversely, a lot of people go crazy with these whistles, and they are blowing whistles after everything. We don't blow whistles after the ball goes through the basket. Okay? We don't blow 2 or 3 whistles after the foul on the player control. So the player control will go, boop, count it, boop, we blow it again. It's one whistle. And on the resumption of play procedure, it's just one whistle. A very short tube to say, if the ball rolls 2 feet out of bounds and the kid goes over, we don't want to blow our whistle. Because what's a whistle normally indicate? Foul or violation, right? So if it indicates a foul or violation, we got kids looking at us like, okay, ref, what have you got? And we're standing there looking like, hey, put the ball in play. Then we're in like a standoff. Crazy. So make your whistle mean something, all right? Don't just be blowing freaking whistle. And last but not least, let me make sure, okay, that's it. I'll start a rule on page 38 next week.